Minister John Steenhuisen says relief is on the way for farmers and communities devastated by recent floods in the Western and Eastern Cape. Steenhuisen visited a farm in Ceres yesterday as government bolsters efforts to respond to the disaster. Two powerful storms have battered parts of the Western Cape, leaving 11 people dead and causing widespread flooding. Farms were submerged, crops destroyed and livestock swept away. Steenhuisen says restoring electricity is critical to protecting exports and preventing further losses.
There's a huge amount of cold storage required here at this particular facility to be able to keep the apples export ready, to be able to generate the revenue. We need to get our Eskom electricity power and pylons back up and running so that we can get electricity in here.
Gold is trading at $4,541.94 an ounce. The rand is at 16.65 to the dollar, 22.33 to the pound, 19.38 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $109.84 a barrel.
Heading towards the Patlu interchange, there's a stationary vehicle on the N1 North just before the interchange, slightly affecting flow of traffic. And in Midrand, traffic remains congested on the N1 South from the Brakfontein interchange to Allendale Road.
The top story this hour: the owners of the Marble Tower building in the Joburg CBD have filed an urgent court interdict against the demolition of illegal structures.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
Visit primemediaplus.com to enter 702 Josie My Josie Walk the Talk. Hosted by the City of Johannesburg. Walk with the people, for the people, for our Josie.
For Joburg, by Joburg, in Joburg.
Bamise bonke.
702.
Live
On the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856
92.7
and 106 FM. Let's walk the talk.
It's 9:07. Good morning. Welcome to the Clement Manyathela Show. My name is Modise and I'm in for Clem this week. Thank you so much for tuning in. Welcome to the Tuesday edition of the show. Lots coming up this morning. We've got a couple of interviews lined up for you that I'm sure you will want to weigh in on. We start with the conversation that we're going to be having a little later with political parties. So, a number of the political parties in Parliament have already started naming their members who will represent them in the impeachment committee. We'll be speaking to Glynis Breitenbach, who will be on the committee for the DA, and Musi Maimani, who represents BOSA. That's in the second hour of the show. We'll then talk to the Human Rights Commission as well. They're going to be having an inquiry into the Gauteng water crisis, and I'm interested in what they're going to be doing differently. We've seen a similar inquiry before on the Hammanskraal water issue, and now the Human Rights Commission wants to do it again. We'll be having a representative on the show a little later. In the final hour, we talk about respiratory syncytial virus in babies and young children, how to go about identifying it, when to start panicking or when to start seeking medical intervention. And then we talk about how to build the skills that will matter most in an AI-driven workplace. Has AI changed what employers actually value in employees and what they look for in employees? That's going to be on the show a little later on as well. That's the show this morning. On the team is Abel, our technical producer. We've got Zintle and Snazo, our producers, taking your calls. Clement Manyathela is watching the roads. Sfiso Zulu has the news. My name is Clement Modise. Get in touch with us on 011-883-0702. Send us a WhatsApp on 072-702-1702. Or get in touch with me on X. My handle is at @Mutso_Modise.
702
Let's walk the talk on 92.7
and 106 FM.
The open line is brought to you by Truecaller. Trust the real ones on 702. Good morning. Thank you so much for tuning in. It's lovely to have you on this Tuesday morning. It is a gloomy Tuesday morning. I am realizing that we're getting deeper and deeper into the trenches of winter because, it's darker outside, it's cooler outside, and we can't avoid it anymore. So we must deal with it, contend with the fact that it is getting colder and it's going to get very cold over the next couple of months. I do think that there's a number of stories that have been making headlines over the last couple of hours. But the one story that is dominating the news cycle currently is what happened yesterday at the Kwaggafontein Magistrates Court. It's a story that we've been watching since last week when we heard that Mpumalanga taxi boss, Mpumalanga taxi tycoon, Joe Sibanyoni was arrested. And of course, it was interesting and worth noting because Sibanyoni has been spoken about extensively at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry, but also he's been alleged to be part of the Big Five, which is a group of people that are alleged to have been part of a drug syndicate. That's according to testimony at the Madlanga Commission. Now, when Sibanyoni was arrested, he was arrested with two other people, and we learned that it was about extortion. 2.2 million rand in extortion. That's what he's been accused of. A third person or a fourth person was added to the dock. That is Bafana Oupa Sindani, who then joined them as accused. Yesterday, however, I think one of the worst things that could happen in any prosecution happened. And I do think that it was embarrassing what happened in the Kwaggafontein Magistrates Court. So I want to give you a bit of a timeline about how things played out before I share my thoughts with you about what's going on in this particular case. So we had a matter before the Kwaggafontein Magistrates Court, an extortion matter. A prosecutor is assigned, and that prosecutor was Mkhuseli Ntaba. Ntaba starts with the bail proceedings last week already. And at the end of proceedings, he then says, this is on Friday, that he cannot make it on Monday. He says that it would be, just to use his words, virtually impossible. The court proceeds to make an order. And it's a chief magistrate who makes this order. It says the prosecutor and the investigating officer must come to court on Monday and be ready to continue with bail at 9 a.m. sharp. Come Monday, the prosecutor is not in court at 9 a.m. Everyone else is present. The prosecutor is not there. In fact, there were questions about whether the investigating officer was there as well. That was a lingering question. And I remember hearing Sean Abrams, yes, that's Sean Abrams, the former NPA head, who's now the lawyer for Joe Sibanyoni. He then tells the court that the IO is also not in court. Now, the lawyers then make submissions. This is particularly Sean Abrams, the lawyer for Joe Sibanyoni, and he's been backed by the legal representatives for the three other accused. They make representations in court yesterday, and they ask for three things. Number one, they ask that the prosecutor must be found to be in contempt of court because he failed to come to court even though there was a court order. They ask that the bail be approached as an unopposed application because the NPA is not there to oppose the bail application. They then ask that alternatively, the matter be struck off the roll. The magistrate makes an order, and she, number one, finds the prosecutor in contempt of court. She then goes on to issue a warrant for his arrest. And then she strikes the matter off the roll. And Joe Sibanyoni and three others are free to walk, for now at least. They go home without a proper bail application. That's what happened yesterday in the Kwaggafontein Magistrates Court. Now, for me, so much about that is wrong and unacceptable. It is... So there are parts to the story that I've been trying to rationalize, especially having listened to interviews from the NPA. The NPA has been doing interviews. We heard the NPA's Mthunzi Maga yesterday speaking to John Perlman on 702, and then he went on to do other interviews with some agencies, other newsrooms as well. The NPA, let's start here. There are a number of absurdities for me. The prosecutor, Mkhuseli Ntaba, seems to have been working on this case alone. I'm trying to understand how that can be the case. A case against a man alleged to be a crime kingpin. That's according to testimony at the Madlanga Commission. A man of great influence, a feared man. News 24 is reporting that the complainant in this case is fearing for his life. And the NPA has a single prosecutor working on this. There is no proper prosecutions team like we've seen. I'll give you someone like Fani Nkosi, who appeared in court a few weeks ago. There is a prosecutions team there. There were 3 prosecutors present in court. In this case, there's one prosecutor leading the prosecution of Joe Sibanyoni. That doesn't sound like a prosecutor that's been supported at all. Number 2, my understanding is that each court has a control prosecutor, and that control prosecutor steps in whenever there is a need. In this instance, there was clearly a need. Now, that person, the control prosecutor, was approached. It seems when they were initially approached, she says that the prosecutor, Ntaba, Mkhuseli Ntaba, said, let's not, he's on his way. He said he's on his way. And then we heard that, and this is from Sean Abrams, who was addressing the court yesterday, that she then went out for lunch when the matter was set to be heard. So the control prosecutor wasn't there. The NPA was not represented. The NPA was not represented at all. There was no one in the courtroom there representing the NPA because the main prosecutor in the case, the only prosecutor really, was a no-show. That's Mkhuseli Ntaba. And then the control prosecutor, who should step in, went to lunch. And then Andy Mutibi, the NPA head, releases a statement saying that he is shocked and dismayed. And they are asking for patience from the public. How, when this has been brewing from Friday already? Anyone who's been following this case and has been watching live streams knows that this was brewing on Friday because of the engagement, the interaction that we heard between the prosecutor and the magistrate. In fact, let's take a listen to a clip from what was happening in court on Friday.
I finish in Cape Town on the 20th. Then return to Nelspruit on the 21st. Now, I don't think that it is fair for us not to finalize what we are dealing with and make a pronouncement whether bail is denied or bail is granted. I think that it's only fair that we take the shortest of times, and that means I'm asking you humbly here to reconsider Monday as the remand date. I don't want to force it down your throat if I can, but if I have to, then I will just have to. But I'm asking very nicely that we agree, because you may have a problem, I have my own problems, and I cannot push for another date because my office is also closed now. And I'm not going to ask the agency to go up and down trying to accommodate me. I think once is sufficient. Shall we agree then to proceed on Monday at 9 o'clock?
That's the magistrate, the chief magistrate, who then says, I don't want to push it down your throat, but if I have to, I will. This is after the prosecutor said, I will not be able to make it to court. So much about this case is just, there's so many absurdities. And very little makes sense from what happened yesterday in court. Let's take some of your calls. Renee, you're in Kensington. You want to weigh in. Good morning.
Hi, good morning, Khomotso. Thank you for taking my call. So, interesting about this matter. So, it was just by chance on Sunday evening, I was watching Checkpoint. I never ever do. And I was watching this situation, this case of Sibanyoni threatening people in Mpumalanga, in KwaMhlanga. And I even called my son to come and listen to the story of how brazenly, taxi drivers get shot dead. It's like 11, taxi drivers. And then I see this Sibanyoni guy, and he apparently wants to run taxis from Pretoria to Mpumalanga, and then he wants to pick up people in Mpumalanga and take them back to Pretoria. And the people from the other taxi group say, but when we transport people to Pretoria, our taxis come back empty.
Yeah.
This guy, and they know the car, they know who the car is, they've seen the car several times, and these guys are brazenly killing taxi drivers. But the thing that stands out for me about this court, and then of course Monday morning is the court case, and I see, I watched the news last night and I see here Sibanyoni and 3 other goons in the dock, and they're standing with sunglasses in the dock like they're celebrities. And I'm like, what the hell? How can this happen? Now, I don't know, is the prosecutor scared? Was the prosecutor paid off? But something is wrong about the magistrate as well.
Yep.
The magistrate just struck the case off the roll. And then, of course, the other thing that puzzles me is I see Sean Abrams sitting there, and he's not even wearing his black robe, and he addresses the magistrate.
Yeah.
There's a lot wrong with this case, and I was totally blown. I even called my son to come and watch, come and see what is happening here. I could not believe it. I just could not believe it.
Yeah. I love that you point these things out, because these are some of the things that stood out for me. The fact that the men that were in the dock wore shades. They were allowed to wear shades throughout proceedings. I've heard magistrates and judges saying, if those are not prescription glasses, take them off.
It's unbelievable. I cannot believe something is not right here. Something is definitely not right here. This whole matter is just unbelievable. It's just shocking.
And Renee, you are sharp.
In so many other cases, magistrates will postpone cases. How does this magistrate just struck it off the roll? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
It does not make sense.
Renee, thank you so much. I've got more calls coming in, but thank you so much for that contribution. Renee is sharp because he even saw that Sean Abrams was derobed during this matter. And I also found that to be interesting. Where was his robe? He was addressing the court with a suit and tie. I found that to be very, very odd. Kabelo, you are in Pretoria. Thank you so much for your call. Good morning.
Komoto, good morning. How are you?
I'm very well, Abuti. Go ahead.
I'm good. Maybe just to start with correcting the previous caller.
Yeah.
And maybe enlighten whoever is listening. So Abrahams is an advocate, a senior counsel for that matter. So when you appear before the magistrate, and that would be a lower court, advocates are allowed to just wear a suit in court. So there's nothing sinister with his appearance yesterday.
Yeah.
He's allowed to wear the way he was dressed.
Is this just in magistrates court? Because
he can in the high court he'll have to robe.
Yes, I'm aware of that. Okay. Yes.
Yeah. So in the magistrates court he was properly dressed. There's nothing wrong.
Okay.
But let's get back to the case. And you'll excuse my ignorance. I do not know whether the prosecutor has surfaced or not. But all that we know was that the last time the control prosecutor spoke to the incumbent, he said that he was on his way. Now we don't know what happened afterwards.
Yes.
But you correctly pointed out that the control prosecutor was then supposed to be in charge.
Yes.
Doesn't have to do the case itself, but to take charge in a sense that to address the court and not address the court in chambers, but to address the court, come into court and say, look, this is what we are faced with. We cannot find the prosecutor, and there's no hurry in this case. And you've made mention of who the accused person is and how sensitive this matter is. What I think should have happened was for the control prosecutor to take charge, and I thought a matter of this magnitude, you wouldn't have one man dealing with this kind of a case, but that you'll have a legal team.
Yeah.
And for control prosecutor to say, magistrate, this is our situation. Can we at least roll over the matter to tomorrow? Because we don't know where the prosecutor is. Anything could have happened, be it a car accident or anything could have happened. But to strike the matter off the roll, I think that the magistrate was too quick to rush to that ruling.
Yeah.
But that it should have adjourned at least to today. I mean, those guys have been in there for 7 days. There was no harm having an extra day, so that we can certainly find out as to where the prosecutor is, why is the prosecutor not in court.
Yeah.
And maybe today, and just maybe today, I would have agreed with the magistrate to have the matter struck off.
Kabelo, thank you so much for your call. I mean, many things that I agree with you on there, particularly around the fact that why is there no prosecutions team? But also I do think that the magistrate was far too quick in striking the matter off the roll. We're going to be speaking to Kaiser Kganyago, who's the spokesperson of the NPA. He's holding on the line, and we'll talk to him after this.
Ready to make a real impact in just 90 minutes? On the 28th of May, Spur Steak Ranches and Rise Against Hunger are joining forces for World Hunger Day to pack thousands of meals for young children across South Africa. And we need you. Grab a friend, grab a shift, 10 a.m., 12 p.m. or 2 p.m. and come help us pack nutritious meals at Thunder Ridge Spur in Centurion. Sign up now via the Spur Facebook page or visit the Rise Against Hunger website. Be a hunger hero. Volunteer today.
I like building things.
Where small hands start imagining bigger worlds, each block a new chance to try again.
We share what we learn, giving teachers the tools to help more children build, think, and grow. And through our toy libraries, play reaches children everywhere, opening more doors to learn.
We are play experts, helping children build possibilities as strong as the worlds they imagine.
One day I'll build something big.
Cortland's Play Engineered. Help us build brighter futures. Donate today at cortlands.org.
To you, it's just a glass sliding door. To your dog, it's an invisible force field to be tested. But it could also end up being an expensive vet bill. Get peace of mind with Outsurance Pet Insurance from only 65 Rand a month. You get claims paid in one day, a fixed excess, choose your own vet, and you could get a cash out bonus. SMS quote to 45149. That's quote to 45149. Licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
Don't miss out on 20 Buck Tuesday at Food Lovers Market. Shop incredible deals like 2 100-gram beef burger patties for 20 Rand. 3 80-gram chicken drumsticks for 20 Rand. 3 100-gram okra sizzler for 20 Rand. Nachi trays for 20 Rand each. And any 2 grapefruit, nachi, orange or lemon thrift packs for just 20 Rand. Valid this Tuesday only at all Inland Food Lovers Market stores.
My name is Richard Sutton, and I'm the host of the podcast Shift Happens. This podcast is about you and the seasons of growth, change, and transformation that shape who you become. My guests are people who have walked long, difficult roads and along the way developed the tools and skills they needed not just to survive, but to thrive and make a real impact in the world. So if you're feeling stuck, uncertain, or searching for what's next, this podcast is for you. Welcome to Shift Happens. Now streaming on primemediaplus.com, the Prime Media Plus app, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts.
You're with Clement Manyathela.
702. Let's walk the talk.
It's the Clement Manyathela Show. My name is Khomoto Modise. I'm in for Clem this morning. Let's go to NPA spokesperson Kaiser Khanyago, who's on the line. Kaiser, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for coming on to the show.
Good morning, Khomoto, and good morning to your listeners.
I think I just want to start with, do we know where Mkhuseli Ntaba is?
Yeah, the prosecutor will be meeting with the director of prosecutions in the province today, so that we get a report of what really transpired. But we are told that they will meet this morning.
So he has surfaced?
Yeah, there's an impression that he had disappeared, but that's not necessarily the case. But we will have to hear after the report is sent to us, because I am not aware that he had disappeared.
Mkhuseli Ntaba seems to have been the only prosecutor working on this case, Kaiser. From Friday, we heard that there was already friction with the magistrate. Is there a reason why there isn't a prosecution's team leading this case against Josie Banyoni and 3 others?
It is not always the case. We always have one prosecutor that deals with the matter, because it was just a bail application that they were involved in, and there was nothing that was saying we need to beef up that matter, and that's why we always have, because as you might know, there are cases in all the courts every day. Therefore, the chances of having more than one, it's not always feasible.
But I struggle with you saying there was no need to beef it up, Kaiser, because we heard already on Friday that the prosecutor said he's not available. Now, in my understanding and in my experience, I've seen multiple prosecutors on a case. For example, Fanny Nkosi, there's multiple prosecutors there. And when the one can't make it, we've seen other prosecutors stepping in. Why was that not done here?
Yeah, but that like I said, there was nothing. In a case where there is a need for that to happen, they do. But in this particular instance, there was no reason. But also, responding to what you said, when the prosecutor says, I'm not available on a certain day, usually in any court that I have been in and you have been there, Khomoto, yourself, then they will make arrangement for another date, so that the suitability of all the people that are involved is taken into consideration. Therefore, that is why from where we are sitting, we are now in the process of trying to get that transcript from the court on Friday and yesterday, so that we are able to understand what really happened, because this, for us, looks like is bigger than just the prosecutor not appearing in court.
Is the NPA considering laying a complaint against the prosecutor or flagging, not the prosecutor, the magistrate? Are you considering flagging the magistrate for her conduct?
If the information that we'll get from the transcripts take us that way, we will take it further to the higher courts or and also to the Magistrates Commission if we find that. Therefore, at the moment, it's not something that we can say we're definitely going to do because we are going to then get the transcript. The NDPP has requested for the transcript of those 2 days so that we understand what really happened. You would have known, for example, that in every matter you would find that when there is a date that needs to be finalized for a matter, then they will ask the lawyers who are in there, the prosecutor, whether they are available, and then they will work on a feasible date that they are available. Therefore, that is standard practice, and it looks like it wasn't done in this case.
The friction here and the tension between the prosecutor and the magistrate had been brewing from Friday, Kaiser. If you were to see the footage from the appearance on Friday, it was clear. I mean, we played a recording earlier where the magistrate says that she doesn't want to push this down his throat, but if she must, she will. Was the NPA head office aware of this at all? Because it seems as though you were caught by surprise yesterday when this has been going on since Friday.
We must remember that this matter is handled by the DPP in Mpumalanga. Therefore, we were not aware of what transpired on Friday. And then when this thing happened, which is something that had never happened before in the history of the NPA, ever since the NPA was established. Therefore, it's something that really was a surprise to us, but also something that was very concerning to the National Director of Public Prosecution.
You know, Kaiser, I'd be okay with this answer if this wasn't a matter of such high profile. It's a high profile matter where we've got Joe Sibanyoni, who is alleged to be a notorious criminal. That's what's been alleged at the Madlanga Commission. And it seems the NPA head office, which should be paying attention, I understand it's the work of the DPP, but should be paying attention to this, was almost caught sleeping. That's what it sounds like to me.
No, it wasn't. You must remember that there are many high-profile cases that happen at any given time. Therefore, we are confident of the work that our DPPs are doing. And like I said, this was we are not even getting into the merit of the case. We're just dealing with the bail application. Therefore, we never expected anything to go wrong, and we just looking at it to be finalized as quickly as possible like it happens. Therefore, we are focusing on all of the cases. You must remember, the case that he is brought to court on is not related to what is happening at Madlanga Commission. It's just a normal case that is happening. Therefore, that would not have caused any alarm on our side until something like that happened.
Kesa, I've run out of time, but I must ask you, according to News 24, they're reporting that the complainant now says they fear for their lives. They say that they feel deeply let down by the criminal justice system. What's the NPA's response to this?
Yeah, we are really concerned because the reputation of the NPA is at stake, but not only of the NPA, but also of the criminal justice system. Therefore, that is why the National Director moved so quickly yesterday to make sure that all of these things are dealt with. And then we want to finalize this matter and understand what really happened by today so that we can re-enroll this matter because it's important that it be re-enrolled.
All right. Thank you so much for your time. That's Keza Khanyago, the spokesperson of the NPA. I mean, yeah, there's a lot coming from that. I think there's a lot that's wrong from what happened here yesterday, but we'll have more on that after the news headlines. Sfiso Zulu, thank you so much for standing by. What's in the news?
Thanks, Khomotso. Good morning. The owners of the Marble Tower building in the Joburg CBD have filed an urgent court interdict against the city's plans to demolish illegal structures. Mayor Dada Morero is leading an operation this morning targeting buildings suspected of crime activity, but the owners of the 32-story building say they are heading to the High Court to stop the crackdown. The DA says the appointment of Clement Manyathela as its new chief whip is a clear message that safety and security is important for the party. The party's parliamentary leader, George Mikalakis, says Breitenberg will bring a wealth of experience, having served in the National Assembly for more than a decade. Mikalakis announced Breitenberg's appointment to the top caucus leadership position yesterday. And the World Health Organization is expected to host an emergency committee meeting today to discuss a deadly Ebola outbreak in the Democratic Republic of Congo, which has killed at least 131 people. This meeting comes 2 days after the UN Health Agency's chief declared the outbreak an international public health emergency. And those are the headlines. This EWN and more at 10 or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
In the traffic in Midrand, the accident that was on the N1 South at New Road has been cleared, but traffic remains slow from the Brakfontein interchange to Allendale Road. If you are heading towards the Petlu interchange, there's still that stationary vehicle on the N1 North just before the interchange, and it is also slowing down traffic. Look out for faulty traffic lights in Parktown at Jan Smarts and Empire, in Benoni at Rangeview Road and Tom Jones, as well as in Sandton at the M1 North and Grayston Drive. Over in the capital city, traffic lights are also out in Hohenkloof at the N14 in Eufus Road, as well as Eufus Road and Christian David. I'll have more updates at the top of the hour.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app. 702 Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa.
My show is about getting you informed by the time you get to the office, your place of business, or wherever you need to go. Hopefully, you have a fairly good idea what's happening in Johannesburg, in Gauteng, and around the world. We want you to be part of those water cooler conversations, and you will be part of those conversations because you'll be a better informed citizen. What I like about the 702 family and 702 land is the ecosystem that we have built, the community. It's all about connection because we may be different, but ultimately the people you talk to and the people you hear are facing issues just like you.
702 Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa, weekdays from 6 to 9 a.m.
702 Josie, my Josie, Walk the Talk is calling you to walk with the people, for the people, on Sunday, the 26th of July, Babize Bonke. And this year, you can choose from 3 different inner city routes. The 8-kilometer 44 Main Street route takes you from Ellis Park through Maboneng and Jewel City, past the Field of Dreams and Maharishi Invincibility Institute. You then go through the Main Street Precinct, Gandhi Square, and past the Carlton Center, finishing off at Ellis Park. So whether you're taking on the 8-kilometer, the 5-kilometer, 15-kilometer, enter now on primemediaplus.com and get ready for the 702 Josie My Josie Walk the Talk, hosted by the City of Johannesburg.
Hello, Joburg. The City of Johannesburg Executive Mayor, Councillor Dada Morero, invites you to tune in for the live broadcast of the 2026 State of the City Address on Wednesday, 20 May. The address themed Building a Foundation for the Future. Your city, our city, will be broadcast at 2 p.m. on the city's social media platforms. Mayor Morero will reflect on the city's progress and outline a way forward where investment in rebuilding infrastructure, reclaiming the inner city, and improving service delivery is prioritized.
In life's most challenging moments of loss, compassion can be your greatest comfort. You shouldn't have to face the financial burden of losing a loved one by yourself. Rest assured, Clientele's funeral plans pay out cash within 24 hours. You can cover up to 13 family members on one plan, ensuring all your loved ones are taken care of, and 3 children are covered at no additional cost. With Clientele, you're not just buying a plan, you're also buying peace of mind. When the time comes, you will need to make important calls with your 200 Rand airtime you will receive when you claim. Plans offer double accidental death cover, as well as transport, grocery, and unveiling benefits. Apply today. It's easy. There are no medical examinations and no paperwork. SMS funeral to 31586. That's 31586. Clientele Life is an authorized FSP and licensed life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
Welcome to Nando's Taste-Demonials. Real reviews by real people. Today's testimonial comes from Jeff in Kempton Park. Now, Jeff seems to be a man of very few words. We've asked him to use his few words to tell us what he thinks of our flame-grilled peri-peri full chicken with any 2 sharing sides for $2.83. Jeff?
Nice.
Well, there you have it. When the meal is such a mouthful, you really only need a few words, I guess. Nando's. Oh, what a place.
Real callers, real conversations, real voices. Open Line with Clement Manyathela. Brought to you by True Caller on 702.
It's the Clement Manyathela Show. My name is Modise. I'm in for Clement this morning. Let's take some of your calls. Abraham, you're in Soshanguve. Thank you so much for holding. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you very much. Khomozo, as you said about the control prosecutor, also, I believe there is also a senior prosecutor who was supposed to assist.
Yeah.
But now, remember, that was a bail application. The prosecutor and the police, they are the respondent in that matter because these guys are saying that they want bail.
Yeah.
So for me, it's very strange. Why the magistrate didn't give those people bail and give them another date to come? Because for him to strike the matter out of the roll is questionable. And also having news that the prosecutor has been suspended. How do you suspend somebody who did not report for duty once or one day? This person is not on duty. You suspend that person and you don't even know the whereabouts of this person. So for me, Khomozo, something is happening here.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know the systems, particularly around employment for the NPA, and maybe they can shed light on that. But I do find it very, very odd that because the lawyers had particularly asked to have them granted bail unopposed. The idea of it being struck off the roll was alternative. It wasn't what they were initially asking. Sean Abrams had initially been asking that grant us bail. The NPA is not here to oppose, so give us bail unopposed. And the magistrate decided to strike the matter of the roll. That does sound quite extreme to me as well.
Yeah, it is, because now if the police and the prosecutor has failed, then we need to protect the rights of the accused people. And in that instance, to protect their rights is just to give them bail.
Yeah, Abraham and Soshanguve, thank you so much for your call. Yeah, a lot of people are very critical around this decision to strike it off the roll at first instance. At the first mistake, it seems, the decision was to strike it off the roll. I'd love to hear from my lawyer friends also about whether this usually happens in this way. From the time that I've spent in court, I think it usually takes some time. It takes a lot to have matters struck off the roll. Am I wrong? Get in touch with us, 011-883-0702. Kustas, you're in Midrand. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Khomozo. I do appreciate your introduction earlier on, when it laid the land for us then to comment.
Yeah.
I initially had given them the benefit of the doubt to hear them. How are they going to respond 24 hours later?
Yeah.
If the spokesperson responds the way that it does, Khomozo, they are still taking it lightly that Joe Ferrari is just an ordinary individual. That guy is not an ordinary person, even on bail. Yeah, right now, if you watch Checkpoint, I'm glad that listener raised that. If you check Checkpoint, you would see, but this guy is actually a murderer of extreme proportion. He could not have risen to where he is in the taxi industry without the barrel of the gun.
Yeah.
But now here's the bottom line. I'm still happy that the prosecutor is alive. But I'm also still happy that at least his family is going to see him. Now, what happened in Mpumalanga is just the tip of an iceberg that happened in provinces. And it seems as if the lackadaisical approach by the NPA, they have not changed course when even today to say, guys, something is wrong. What is going on in Mpumalanga? Because this guy now, Ferrari, is probably going to silence all the witnesses one way or the other because he wants to kill off that case. And the approach of the NPA is to say, no, it was just a bail application. There was no reason to beef up anything. The prosecutor and every student have been in witness protection as we speak.
And Kustas, it's not an ordinary case because on an ordinary case with ordinary people, we don't have police officers surrounding the courtroom with rifles, big rifles in the courtroom. They clearly understand the risks in this case. They understand the security risk.
The NPA doesn't.
No, but what
doesn't.
So I suppose now what we need to figure out, is whether this is the standard approach. I said at the beginning of the show, Kustas, that we're in trouble here. If this is if this is the NPA that is going to be prosecuting all these Malanga cases, and this is the approach, we're in big trouble.
They're going to walk. Lalela, Mkwanazi's work is going to go down because this NPA is not serious. The judiciary is not serious. That magistrate there, that magistrate should be removed and be charged for misconduct. It's unacceptable. When Mkwanazi says these things, these two institutions, they responded by saying, yeah, where's the evidence? Today we're seeing the evidence of that. Guess what happened? They're going to bury this one. But thanks for taking my call.
Gustas, thank you so much. He's in Midrand there. Yeah, really sharing sentiments, some of my sentiments as well. Let's go to Jonas. You're in Johannesburg. Good morning.
Hi, Komoto. Good morning,
Morning.
and thanks for taking my call.
Yes, go ahead.
Komoto, this is the tip of an iceberg. It happens all the time in many courts in the country. You've been there. You've seen a few of these things. So my view is very straightforward, Komoto. I'm not defending the magistrate.
Yeah.
We must always remember the magistrate is an adjudicator of a matter or facts before her, and she's got a governing process or procedure that she needs to follow. She followed what was before. Here are the lawyers for the defense and the defense that says we are here as you have guided. We are ready to proceed. The people who laid charges against them, they are not there to defend, to present a case for that matter. The magistrate had two options. She had options to where in the absence of any case presented to keep people in the cells, she had options. And the options are not for her choice. They are there, they are written, they are governed. She had the option to use either or. The defense were clever. They said we are going to go unopposed. If she opened unopposed and listened to their arguments against no argument put before her, it would have been even worse debate we have now. But she deferred to an alternative. The alternative being, I'm taking this case out of, call it a shelf, and putting it away. You have an option to re-enroll it when you are ready to go on. And then what is the option? Release these people, because you can't keep them in if there are no reasons to keep them put before you. In here, I'm not a lawyer, and then I'm just not lecturer. I'm just saying we need to be careful to balance this. However, I'm still with you all to say I have worked in law enforcement spaces for some years.
Yeah.
I dealt with similar matters before. I'm saying this with some evidence to say it's just a tip of an iceberg. The spokesman also comes in and put fire in this. He just told us that they treated this matter as an ordinary case. Yes. It's very disturbing for that matter. He should have even elected not to say anything, at least at this stage. But saying it's just an ordinary case, that's sad, if I may.
Jonas in Johannesburg, thank you so much for your contribution. A lot. I think if we were to sit here and to point out all the wrongs in this and all the absurdities in this, I think we'd take the whole day. Let's go to Soweto. Ike is on the line. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, my dear. I've been just really listening from the beginning since yesterday. What we all know as South Africans, 7 days is absolutely nothing. People, they stay for bail applications, then it can drag to 3 to 18 months, and I've experienced that. So whenever a case is supposed to be dealt with, the prosecutor is the one reporting to that particular magistrate. Even that particular prosecutor may be probably attending court in some other courtrooms, but knowing exactly he hasn't or she hasn't come as a prosecutor to present her presence at that particular time. How did anyone even start with that case? That is the question mark. So immediately, the magistrate has got all the power, not even to say, since the prosecutor, it means it's like we struck this case. It's just an insult. Or maybe, probably, we know that there's a mafia, those who are in control. That is where I'm directing now. The magistrate is so protected. Since the prosecutor is not around, we're not going to proceed with this matter and make another date. Well, the director, whoever, should have advised that 2 hours for them to have a break and discuss about it. Not just to insult. We as the South Africans, we are listening. That case is a very, 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 very serious. People's lives is gone.
I suppose
and
that's,
they are those.
yeah, that's the
Yes.
question that's being asked, Ike, to say, could we not have, I mean, we understand the contempt. I understand finding the prosecutor in contempt because the prosecutor was not in court. There was an order that was handed down and, the prosecutor didn't pitch. I understand that part. When it comes to the decision to strike the matter off the roll, particularly when there's been one day where something wrong happened, I think that's where people are questioning and asking, is this not extreme? Could we not have postponed the matter? But I suppose the magistrate feels strongly about this, and she was moved by the submissions that were made by Sean Abrams when he said that the prosecutor here is just being disrespectful. The state is being disrespectful. Let's take Charles in Johannesburg as well. You've been holding for some time. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Oh, Charles, I'm going to ask you to switch off your radio because there's an echo.
Sorry, it was.
Charles, can you hear us?
Yes, can you hear me?
We can. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about that. So I appear to just be coming off the tail end of all the updates relating to the story. Can I just confirm this was in Northwest? Is that right? The magistrate's court?
No. This was in Mpumalanga and Kwaggafontein.
Oh, in Mpumalanga. All right. Thank you so much. So why I wanted to make this comment specifically is because I think what everybody seems to be missing. I even heard the spokesperson from the MPA who commented. Again, I caught the tail end of his conversation with you, but what's so critical is that people are referring to and commenting on why the prosecutor wasn't there and the fact that the prosecutor was busy somewhere else and we couldn't find him, etc., etc. Really, this is largely irrelevant. The fact that there can be any number of prosecutors that can attend at any given time to any matter, and whether or not the prosecutor was demanded by the magistrate, which actually is not the purview or the authority of a magistrate to demand anything from the state. Remember that Rule 6 of the Criminal Procedure Act, Section 6 of the Criminal Procedure Act states that the only person, or the only body that is entitled and has the authority to institute charges and to prosecute or withdraw charges against any accused person is the Attorney General and anybody working underneath the Attorney General, in this instance the MPA and ultimately the prosecutor. So a magistrate can never say to a prosecutor, you must be here on such and such date. Any prosecutor can come and the MPA can elect any prosecutor to come and do that. But moreover, and aside from the point, from what I'm hearing, this was the first appearance. Is that correct?
No, this was not the first appearance. They appeared last week. I believe they appeared twice last week. And they had the first part of their bail application on Friday, and it was supposed to continue yesterday.
So they were in custody?
They were in custody, yes.
All right. So they were in custody. They were making an application for bail. Now it does change things because if you were in custody last week, and I'm assuming the 7-day period had already passed,
yeah,
and the matter came before a magistrate for purposes of bail, and there was no prosecutor available at all to argue the bail against or in favor of the state as to opposing the bail, then the counsel for the accused were right to say that we insist on bringing a bail application. In fact, if the magistrate had refused to hear the bail application, those accused could have petitioned or could have interdicted or brought an application, an urgent basis, to the High Court to say, we're entitled to our constitutional rights to freedom, and accordingly, the refusal of hearing a bail application is irregular.
So, Charles,
but she should have,
because I am running out of time. You sound very well versed with these, and I presume you're a lawyer and you work in that space. Very quickly, speak to the decision to strike the matter from the roll, because I think everyone agrees. Everyone agrees when it comes to the contempt that okay, we can see how he was found in contempt, but striking the matter of the roll by the prosecutor.
Yeah, but even the contempt, you see, the contempt itself is weird for me. I mean, I can't understand. The magistrate doesn't have the authority to order a prosecutor to come, or a specific prosecutor. They can say, if in the event that there's an application in terms of Section 342, capital A, that the state is wasting time and it's an unreasonable delay, they can say, we're giving you notice, and the next occasion we're going to ask for a final remand of this matter. But if they're in detention, i.e. they're in custody, there has to be a bail application. Alternatively, if the matter is finally remanded on the previous occasion and an application is brought, then an accused who has not pleaded is entitled to a discharge.
All right, Charles, I'm going to have to leave it there. And thank you so much for your call. You've got a lot to weigh in on, and I hear you want to, amplify and give a lot more analysis on this, which is absolutely great. I do think it's the type of story that we will be revisiting sometime this week.
These calls. No! This was us before. Our dinner time being interrupted by unverified calls. My husband, 5 to being scammed. Upgrade to Truecaller Premium Family Plan. Protects up to 5 people for just R49.99 per month. Hubby chooses what to answer, and auntie knows what's real. Bese mina, I get my peaceful family dinner time. Truecaller. Trust the real ones. Available on the Play Store and the App Store.
Corporates That Care promotes and encourages corporate leaders and all citizens to walk the talk for a better South Africa. Catch Corporates That Care this Wednesday at 10 to 9 featuring R&B. The head corporate client coverage, Nana Piri, will be in conversation with Bongani Bingwa. Join us every Wednesday as we highlight the efforts of companies and brands dedicated to building our country. Corporates That Care is a Prime Media Cares initiative with 702 and Prime Media Outdoor. 702, let's walk the talk and make a difference together.
Baa Black Sheep. Have you any wool? Yes, sir. More than 3 bags full. We think beyond today, tomorrow, more. Look up, look far ahead. We may choose to leave the herd. There's greener grass where fewer care to tread. Baa Black Sheep. Proof of what we do. Better for clients for over 20 years. Courage, we hold the course for you. Baa Black Sheep. If you want more wool, it takes black sheep thinking. Camissa Asset Management. Invest different. Camissa Asset Management is a licensed FSP.
Looking for a stylish SUV that fits your life and your budget? Barron's are offering the Volkswagen T-Cross Life from just $4,990 per month. Packed with smart tech, bold design, and the versatility to take you anywhere, from weekday commutes to weekend escapes. And right now, it's never been more accessible. $4,990 per month? Yes, really. Available for a limited time at Barron's Woodmead and Barron's Broomer. Barron's, the Volkswagen people.
Let's walk the talk.
702.
This conversation on 702 is brought to you by Capitec. Slam the scam with Capitec. So, as most South Africans turn to digital platforms to buy and sell everyday items, the way transactions are done is changing, and so are the risks. Deposit scams are on the rise, with criminals posing as legitimate sellers, offering deals that seem too good to pass up, and pressuring people into making fast payments for goods or services that don't exist. Joining us now are Nick Harris, Head of Financial Crime at Capitec, and Jean Rousseau, Head of CSI and Financial Education at Capitec, to unpack how these scams work, why they're so convincing, and the simple steps that you can take to stay safe. Thank you so much, Nick and Jean, for joining us. I want to start with you, Nick. What exactly are deposit scams?
Yeah, absolutely. So generally what we see this takes place on a variety of digital platforms like Marketplace, communities, WhatsApp groups, OLX that are designed for trust, right? And really, you browsing Marketplace, you see something that looks legitimate, the price is looking good, and you're just like, this is the bargain of a lifetime. It could be a rare item, right? As well, it might be an iPhone, it might be a fridge, but it could also be, a comic book collection that we've seen as well. And basically, the fraudster or the scamster entices you to make a upfront payment to secure the goods, and then they promise to ship it, and it never arrives.
And for some reason, these scams look very convincing. There's good photos, friendly sellers, people that are very keen to help you in this transaction. Jean, what makes deposit scams so hard to spot? I suspect it's got to do with how convincing they look.
Yes. So what scammers understand and what most of us don't fully appreciate is that our brains are wired to make fast decisions when we feel excited or under pressure. So the fear of missing out on a great deal is a powerful emotion, and scammers deliberately engineer that feeling. The ticking clock, the other interested buyer, the seller who's about to leave town. They're not coincidences. They're techniques that the scammers use. So when we're in that emotional state, we override our own doubt. And we think, I know this feels a bit rushed, but I don't want to lose the deal. So I think what is important is to say, and talk a bit more about how they do this and how they are very deliberate about it. So they use attractive prices. That's in itself a tool. It creates excitement and urgency, and it makes people willing to move fast without thinking or asking questions. The surge in the digital era is also about scale. So a single scammer can run dozens of fake listings, simultaneously targeting hundreds of people at once. And in the physical world, a fraudulent car dealer or a landlord has limited reach. Online, the scam or the same fraud can be deployed at industrial scale with almost no cost.
Yeah. And Nick, why do scammers specifically target real-time payments? And I suppose, what should we understand about what happens to the money once it leaves your account?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, real-time payments really is that the scammer wants to get that money as quickly as possible into the bank account. And real-time payments and pay shop transactions, as some of us may know it as well, are really designed to land money within seconds. And generally what you will see is that those accounts are generally mule accounts. So somebody sold an account. Mule accounts cost about $150 if you're looking on it on the black markets. And then really it's a rush against time. So that scammer really moves the money out as quickly as they can before you realize that it's fraud and report it, right? So they'll draw it out in cash, or they might send into some of the online gaming platforms or even into cryptocurrency.
Yeah. And then Jean, please just take us through maybe 3 practical rules that we should apply before handing over any money on platforms like Facebook Marketplace and similar platforms.
Yeah, so rule 1 is check the price. If it looks too good and below what you would expect to pay, slow down. The attractive deal is often the bait, not the bargain. And scammers use price to create excitement and urgency to make you act before you think. A legitimate seller prices realistically. So if the deal looks extraordinary, ask yourself why. The second important rule is to check the seller. Before you respond to a listing, check the seller's profile. How long has the account existed? Does it have history or previous listings, activities or reviews? A brand new profile with no track record is a red flag, and scammers create fresh accounts for each all the time. So if the profile was created recently and has no history, rather don't engage, no matter how good the listing looks. And then the third one, which is a super important one, is verify the item. So never pay for something you have not physically seen and inspected yourself. Not a photo, not a video. You need to see it in real life with your eyes and confirm that it's exactly what was advertised. There are often excuses of why you can't see the item or why the seller is suddenly out of town and so they can only ship it without you seeing it. Don't fall for that. So the rule alone stops the vast majority of scams. Don't pay before you haven't verified that the item or the listing actually exists.
All right, let's leave it there. Thank you so much for your insights. That's Nick Harris, the head of financial crime at Capitec, and Jean Rousseau, the head of CSI and financial education, also at Capitec.
This is EWN.
Good morning, I'm Sviso Zulu. There's been chaos at a major butchery in the Joburg CBD where Mayor Dada Morero is leading an operation to enforce the city's bylaws. Home Affairs officials have been inspecting the identity documents of employees in the shop this morning. Morero says the operation is targeting businesses suspected of breaking the city's laws. Jabuli Lembata has more.
The butchery on Plain and Kane Street was temporarily closed this morning during the raid. Some people working in the shop dodged police by hiding on top of fridges, while others ran off into the back of the building. Joburg Human Settlements MMC Mlungisi Mabasu says the workers were running away because they are undocumented foreign nationals.
They've got majority of foreign nationals that are employed here. I mean, we can't allow such things when we've got, lots of South Africans that are sitting at home, unemployed with no hope for future, and yet we've got businesses in the inner city that have employed foreign nationals in their majority of the staff complement.
Mabaso says the HR personnel and the manager may be held liable for harboring undocumented foreigners. Jabulile Mbata, Eyewitness News, Johannesburg, CBD.
Meanwhile, the owners of the Marble Towers building have filed an urgent court interdict against the city's plans to demolish illegal structures. The operation started in the 32-story building this morning. The city's legal counsel, Clement Manyathela, says Marble Towers owes 14 million rand in rates, taxes, electricity and water.
They don't want us to demolish and remove the containers and the shacks that placed in and around Marble Towers and the High Court precinct. And the city is of the view that this illegality and unlawfulness must stop.
The presiding judge in the trial of alleged underworld gang boss Nafiz Modek says delays in the case cannot be blamed on his lawyer. Submissions were heard yesterday in the Western Cape High Court after Modek's defense last week requested another postponement to secure witnesses. Modek, who's on trial with 14 others, faces charges including the murder of top cop Charles Kinnear outside his Bishop Levy's home 6 years ago. Carlo Peterson reports.
Advocate Bash Sebda told the court he is struggling to secure new witnesses because his client has failed to provide names of potential witnesses in time. However, presiding judge Robert Henny warned Sebda to adhere to criminal trial procedure, saying the matter cannot be held up by Modek any longer.
I cannot indulge an accused person if he's not able, to the best of your endeavors, to proceed with his case.
Henny is expected to decide whether to close Modek's case on Wednesday. Carlo Peterson, Eyewitness News.
The DA says the appointment of Glenys Breitenberg as the new chief whip is a clear message that safety and security is important for the party. The party's parliamentary leader, George Mikalakis, says Breitenberg will bring a wealth of experience, having served in the National Assembly for more than a decade. Mikalakis announced Breitenberg's appointment to the top caucus leadership position yesterday. Babalondenze has more.
Glenys Breitenberg will step into her new role and replace George Mikalakis, who was elected as the party's new parliamentary leader earlier this month. Breitenberg has been the DA's Justice Portfolio spokesperson and will now also lead the party in the Section 89 Impeachment Committee as one of the party's nominated members. Mikalakis says she will be the custodian of Parliament's rules and procedures for the DA and also join him as the party's chief negotiator within the GNU in Parliament.
And it sends a very clear message that the DA is very adamant to make security and safety our priority within Parliament, in line with the vision and agenda of the federal leader, Jordan Hill-Lewis.
The party says Breitenberg will, alongside Deputy Chief Whip Bax Nodada, be responsible for 13 National Assembly whips, 87 National Assembly members, and 12 NCOP members. Babalondenze, Eyewitness News, Parliament.
And the World Health Organization is expected to host an emergency committee meeting today to discuss a deadly Ebola outbreak in the Democratic Republic of Congo, which has killed an estimated 131 people. This meeting comes 2 days after the UN Health Agency's chief declared the outbreak an international public health emergency. No vaccine or treatment exists for the strain of Ebola behind the latest outbreak of the deadly disease. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus told the World Health Assembly in Geneva that he's worried about the scale and speed of the epidemic.
From conflicts to economic crisis to climate change and aid cuts, we live in difficult and dangerous and divisive times.
Gold is trading at $4,541.94 an ounce. The rand is at 16.65 to the dollar, 22.33 to the pound, 19.38 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $109.84 a barrel.
In the traffic, if you are heading towards the Batlu interchange, there's slow-moving traffic from New Road. And in Centurion, expect slight delays on the N1 North due to an accident just after off John Foster Drive.
A partly cloudy day in store for Gauteng with isolated showers. The temperatures will peak at highs between 16 and 19 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour. There's been chaos at a major butchery in the Joburg CBD where Mayor Dada Morero is leading an operation to enforce the city's bylaws.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
Where
calling on Joburg to walk the inner city with us. In 702 Josie My Josie Walk the Talk. Babize bonke. Enter now on primemediaplus.com.
702.
Live
On the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856
92.7
and 106 FM. Let's walk the talk.
It's just gone 9 minutes past 10. This is the Clement Manyathela Show. My name is Clement Manyathela. Welcome back. Thank you so much for tuning in. Shoo, what a first hour, hey? Thank you so much for your contributions and your WhatsApps and your calls. We had so many calls coming from you on this particular issue around the NPA and the case of Joe Sibanyoni. It's the type of story that I don't think we'll forget because we don't need an NPA that fumbles. And this looked like they fumbled. If you want to listen back to the open line, please check it out on our YouTube. You can also listen back on the Prime Media Plus app. Coming up in the next hour, we're going to be having a conversation around the impeachment committee. So, a number of political parties have already started naming their candidates and representatives in the impeachment committee. What does the work ahead look like for them, and what are they planning and preparing ahead of those sittings? We'll be having that conversation in just a bit. And joining me for that is Clement Manyathela, the DA's new chief whip, as well as Musi Maimane, the leader of Build One South Africa. Weigh in and send us your contributions on 011-883-0702. Alternatively, send me a WhatsApp on 072-702-1702.
Let's walk the talk.
702.
So political parties have now started naming their representatives to Parliament's highly anticipated impeachment committee into the Phala matter. It's a 31-member committee. That's a big committee. And it follows a landmark Constitutional Court ruling which found that Parliament acted unlawfully when it previously blocked the impeachment process in 2022. The court has now ordered that the independent panel report, which found prima facie evidence that the president may have violated his violated the constitution rather, and other laws be referred to the impeachment committee. Now, parties are putting forward MPs who will participate in the process and represent them. The ANC, the DA, MK Party, and the EFF combined will get more than half of the seats in the committee. And the ANC will hold 9 seats, the DA 5, the MK Party 3, the EFF 2, and with all smaller parties holding 1 seat each. So that's what the composition currently looks like. And that's what the panel or the committee has got to do, right? It's the work that they have ahead of them. But how is this going to work, and what are the political parties, or the members of parliament, I should say, represented there anticipating? I'm joined by Clement Manyathela, who is the MP, or the DA's new chief whip, and she's a member of parliament. I'm also hoping to have Dr. Musi Maimane, who is the leader of Build One South Africa, to also join us for this conversation. But let's start with Clement, who is holding on the line. Clement, good morning. Thank you so much for your time.
Hi, thank you.
I should start by saying congratulations. You are the DA's new chief whip.
Thank you very much. Yes, I'm not sure if it's congratulations or commiserations, but yes.
A lot of work there ahead of you. Let me start here, Clement, right?
Uh-huh.
There are reports that the president may be interdicting the parliamentary process and he may be approaching to court to have the entire process halted. That's in addition to taking the report on review. What's the DA's position on this?
Well, first of all, the DA respects the ruling of the Constitutional Court. So, the DA South Africa is a constitutional democracy, and accountability must apply equally to everybody, regardless of their office or position in life. The DA is a party of the Constitution and the rule of law, and we will not protect any wrongdoing. So, if the matter proceeds to the impeachment committee, we will participate fully and constructively in that process to establish the facts, because that's what the committee will be there to do.
Do you perceive this? Yeah, but do you perceive this interdict, potential interdict, because we don't know if it's going ahead, but this interdict application, do you perceive it to be a delaying tactic from the president in terms of accountability?
Well, he's perfectly entitled to take the report on review. that he can do. And we have nothing to say about that. And that must run its course. But a review doesn't suspend anything. So if he wants to stop the impeachment committee, he has to get an interdict. And if he goes to court to ask for an interdict, he's asking the court to stop Parliament doing its job, which is a bit of a sad state of affairs if you're the president. And you're asking Parliament to stop doing its job simply because you're the subject matter of that job. So yes, I think the optics are bad for the president, and I think while it's a legitimate process, it's one that I would certainly personally be very hesitant to follow. I would much rather see him take the view that he will participate in the process and that he will be open and transparent, and that the matter must run its course. If he's got nothing to hide, that would be, in my view, the way that he should deal with it.
Your party has said that you will not prejudge the affairs and the president, but you will also not shield the president. It sounds to me like it's a wait-and-see approach. How will that be informing your approach and your contribution in the committee?
Well, we certainly don't adopt a wait-and-see approach. Our approach is very simple. We will participate in any process, and we will do so fully and constructively and robustly because we want to establish the facts. And the facts will determine whether the president has done anything wrong or not. We will not participate in anything that's unfair or unjust. And in the same vein, we will not protect anybody from wrongdoing. So that is our approach. It's certainly not a wait-and-see approach.
And what would a credible impeachment process look like for the DA?
A credible impeachment process would... well, already the committee is very big, I must say. That is a concern. So it means that, it just draws things out, takes a long time, and there'll be, you can expect some political grandstanding. But nevertheless, a credible process would be a properly constructed committee that operates within the ambit of the section that applies to, I think, it's Section 84 or Section 89, and operates strictly within the ambit of the Constitution and operates completely fairly, completely transparently, and seeks only justice.
And should we as members of the public be worried? Should we be concerned about party majorities possibly influencing the outcome before proceedings even begin?
No, I don't think that anybody should concern themselves with that. Once you're on that committee, you're supposed to represent Parliament and represent South Africans, and party politics should ideally fade into the background.
And in your view, Glynis, what threshold of evidence would justify impeachment proceedings, against the president at the end of the work of this impeachment committee?
Well, clearly the method of the inquiry will be on a balance of probabilities.
And so what would it be? What type of evidence that would be led, particularly in this committee, would you feel it would inform an impeachment proceeding against the president?
Well, relevant evidence, admissible evidence, evidence that is credible, not evidence that is subjective, not evidence that is conjecture, not evidence that is supposition. None of that is evidence. So real evidence, proper, admissible, relevant evidence, whatever that may be.
And of course, you want the president himself also to appear before the committee.
Well, I don't see how we can function without him appearing. He is the subject matter of the inquiry. So, certainly it would be in his own best interest to come and put forth his version.
All right. The DA is Glynis Breitenbach. She's the new chief whip of the DA. She's one of the people who will be on this impeachment committee. She's one of 5 from the DA, and that's the composition. So 9 from the ANC, DA 5, MK Party 3, EFF 2, and all other smaller parties will have 1 seat each. In fact, one of the smaller parties that will have 1 seat is BOSA, that's Build One South Africa. So we're going to be getting Musi Maimane there. I'm not sure how we can expect party majorities not to influence this process. I mean, I can clearly see that there will be that. There's already talks of that, and how on bargaining already. And you expect that in a process like this. It's such an important process. It's an impeachment process. And the politics, of course, will take center stage when it comes to this. I am glad, though, and I suppose that this is a good thing about our democracy. The representation in this particular committee, I think, is great. That there are so many different political parties that are represented there, and I think that they do represent the different views that people have, that South Africans hold about this. It is a big committee. And even Glynis Breitenbach does say that she's worried about that. It is concerning. It's a big committee. That means everyone is going to want to have a chance to speak. You know, when you watch the ad hoc committee into police, I didn't feel like it had to go on for that long, but it went on for some time, and some of the hearings went on very long because everyone wanted to say something, as they should. It's their right to do so. But sometimes it gets a little repetitive, and I fear that might be the case. Musi Maimane, the leader of Build on South Africa, joins us now on the line. I think let's take him immediately after this break. We're going to be speaking to him about this impeachment committee.
Aubrey Masango.
Weekday evenings,
8 to midnight.
Buyolwethu Zungula, the Phalaphala issue. What is it that President Cyril Ramaphosa must answer for?
He must answer for having undeclared dollars to the tune of over $800,000. If I can come to your house and I see that you've got large stack of South African rands, I would think that you are involved in criminal activities. Therefore, as South Africans, we need to have that comfort to see that our head of state is not compromised and is not under any other influence.
Aubrey Masango.
8 to midnight on 702.
702.
Managing your workforce shouldn't be complicated. That's why businesses choose Onacy, a proudly South African cloud-based payroll and HR solution. From payroll and e-recruitment to performance management and self-service tools, we streamline the way businesses handle their people. Scalable, secure, and always online, our system evolves with your needs because your workforce deserves the best. Switch to Onacy and experience payroll and HR done right. Visit onacy.com today.
Experience pure country allure as a VIP at this year's Hollywood Bets Durban July with Spina Zonke. Stand a chance to win VIP experiences or a share of 1.2 million rand in cash. Bet 2 rand or more on selected slots to enter. This is your moment. Release your spirit. Release your victory. Release your glamour with Spina Zonke. Bet now.
T's and C's apply. Hollywood Sportsbook is a licensed betting operator. No persons under the age of 18 years are permitted to gamble. Winners know when to stop. South African Responsible Gambling Foundation toll-free counseling line 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp help to 076 675 0710.
Evolution doesn't wait. Introducing the Chang'an Uni S. Unexpected, unmistakable, uncompromising. Engineered to a higher standard, unlike anything in its class. Unsurprising, really, from China's oldest automaker, trusted by 30 million drivers worldwide. And at 4,999 per month, it's an unbeatable offer too. Chang'an Finance, T's and C's apply. Visit chang'anmotors.co.za for more. The Chang'an Uni S.
Chang'an, driven to evolve.
The Money Show.
Weekday evenings at 6.
The increase in chicken imports, they were up by nearly 40%, and even that didn't seem to affect you.
And we should bear in mind that in July, August last year, the Brazilian industry was unable to export to South Africa because of their bird flu. There was some catch-up, and that falls into the 6-month period that we reviewed. So Brazilian exports resumed to South Africa, and there was quite a lot of chicken that came in.
Gary Arnold, the CEO at Astral.
The Money Show
on 702.
702.
Let's walk the talk.
The Money Show with Stephen Curtis is brought to you by Absa Business Banking, featuring the AgriTrends 2026 Autumn Edition. In agriculture, smart moves need smart insights. Get the latest AgriTrends report at absaagritrends.co.za. Absa is a registered FSP.
702.
Let's walk the talk on 92.7
and 106 FM.
Welcome back. It's 22 minutes past 10. My name is Clement Manyathela. I'm in for Clement Manyathela this morning. We're speaking about the political parties who are going to, I should say members of parliament, who represent political parties who are going to be in the impeachment committee. And of course, we just spoke to Glynis Breitenbach from the DA. The Bosa's Musi Maimane is on the line, and he's also going to be representing his party in the committee. Musi, thank you so much for your time. I want to hear your thoughts on the size of this committee, because there is a fear and a concern that 31 members may find us having a lengthy, protracted process, really that sometimes may be difficult to manage.
Good morning, and good morning to fellow South Africans. And thank you, Komotso. I think we need to appreciate the nature of the moment. This is the first time in the history of South Africa's democracy that an impeachment process has been taken upon. There's a lot of things that can happen that may seem like they're overly ventilated, etc. And in some ways, at the end of the day, it's important that we seek out accountability. It's important that the political processes and citizens are represented in as wide a fashion as possible, because typically you would narrow it down, only have a few parties, and that becomes the view of only a section of society, whereas this broadens it. Thirdly, and most importantly, is that it sets up a precedent for how we can do this better in the future. We'll learn some lessons. And so for me, what's important in the role that we're seeking to play is to always maintain the integrity of it, because South Africans don't want a sham. Secondly, to ensure accountability is in fact exercised so that in future no other president can do this issue. But thirdly, that whatever recommendations come through that process, once having had an opportunity to ventilate all the issues, the recommendation sets us up that the rights of the president are protected, that the rights of the citizens are protected, but that in future no other president would be able to circumvent a process that Parliament must set up, because we've agreed as society that Parliament is the apex of accountability. So this is a moment that as South Africans we have to do both the learning, the exercise, but also ensuring that the laws are upheld of the country.
Yeah. And speaking about lessons, you previously served on the Nkandla ad hoc committee that was investigating former President Jacob Zuma. What lessons from that experience are informing your approach in the current process?
Yeah, the first thing that was important was that the process under President Zuma allowed a majoritarianism. You will remember one of the most important lessons we took away from that was that the committee, led by a majority of the ANC, voted that what was in fact a swimming pool was a fire pool. Now, in the numbers question, linking on to your first question, is that in this particular instance, the ANC does not enjoy a majority, which means it makes it impossible for them, for anybody, for any one political party, to distort a fact and resort it to a vote. That eventually, by majority, you can say, look, a swimming pool is a fire pool, or dollars are not dollars, they were Zim dollars, and we must vote for that. So in this particular instance, the numbers are helpful to prevent that situation. That was an important lesson. And the second issue is the fact that that ad hoc committee needed to be best served also with legal counsel working in parallel to it. Because you will remember, the report of that particular committee was then challenged in court, which then created the secret ballot and all of those kinds of constitutional work that needed to be done. What we cannot be doing is solving political problems using our legal systems, because at the end of the day, you politicize the courts as a start, and secondly, you delay processes that should be routine for Parliament to hold the President account. On another day, I would suggest that, in fact, there must be a direct election of the President so that the President is accountable to the people. In our current model, the President is accountable only to Parliament. It is Parliament who appoints the President, and it is Parliament that must hold them accountable. So the key lessons are that let's not take the matters back to court. Let us have a legal process in parallel, and there cannot be majoritarian voting on facts that are common cause for citizens.
You know, Musi, you say that the ANC doesn't enjoy the majority that they did, but some may argue that they do in the form of the GNU.
Well, the second question that I think will need to arise is who chairs that committee so that we can ensure that we don't have that sort of situation as you describe it. And what I'm proposing is that it needs to be a member of someone who's not in the GNU, precisely for not only for the integrity of the process, but to ensure that everyone has a fair voice. That's the first thing. The second thing is, The role of an ad hoc committee established by Parliament needs to remind itself that in some ways, yes, it is made up of political parties, but more importantly, it is established in terms of law as members of Parliament. And so there needs to be a degree upon which people say that we're not here to play party politics. This is going to be material for generations to come. Whether it goes ahead or not, whether the president challenges the review or not, whatever happens, this as a moment in the nation is important for future generations. And so I think given that Parliament has been found twice in the Constitutional Court of having failed at its duty, the last thing we need is a three strikes where ultimately the Concord has to resort to the same conclusion. Then our accountability frame doesn't work. So I guess my invitation is that even though the GNU is 70%, we have had to exercise the role of saying, what are the parties like BOSA, like ourselves, who are not in the GNU, how do we ensure that there's still sanity and integrity in the process and not rely on the 70% that sits in the GNU as an exercise in voting, but really to come at it legally, fairly, so that all rights are protected and the citizens know that this process, whom they pay for, in essence, because it's South Africa's taxpayers, that they know that it is upheld to legal scrutiny and it is integrous.
Yeah, and I must ask you the same question that I asked Linus around this interdict process. The president said to be approaching the courts to interdict Parliament from going ahead with the entire process, in addition to his review application. Your thoughts?
Look, my overall view of South Africa is that there must be a degree of consciousness on all of our parts that asks us the question, have we fulfilled our duty without having to permanently always resort to the courts? I am not a lawyer, and so I'm not going to comment on whether or not I think that if the review is successful, that it should halt Parliament. I'm giving some advice that says that actually one leg of the state can't interdict another, given the stage that it's at. But more than anything, I think we need to, all of us, ask the very broad question, is South Africa working well? Are we achieving what we need to achieve? And more than anything, in this particular instance, has the president defended the law of the country as is his constitutional obligation? That must be the guiding question.
Yeah.
So that we're not stuck to try and act as lawyers, but instead of being lawmakers and being able to hold accountability. And therefore, I'll ask the Parliamentary Legal Service to be able to guide the committee on that regard.
All right. Mmusi Maimane is leader of Build One South Africa. Thank you so much for your time. It is just a little over 10:30. Sviso Zulu standing by with our news headlines. Good morning.
Thanks, Khomoto. Good morning. The NPA has confirmed that the prosecutor accused of contempt for not showing up in court will meet with the Director of Public Prosecutions in Mpumalanga. Mkhuseli Ntaba failed to pitch yesterday during bail proceedings in the extortion and money laundering case involving taxi bosses Joe Sibanyoni, Bafana Sindane and two others. The matter was struck off the roll in the Kwaggafontein Magistrates Court and a warrant of arrest against the prosecutor was issued. There's been chaos at a major butchery in the Joburg CBD where Mayor Dada Morero is leading an operation to enforce the city's bylaws. Home Affairs officials have been inspecting the identity documents of employees in the shop this morning. Morero says the operation is targeting businesses suspected of breaking the city's laws. And U.S. President Donald Trump says he's held off on carrying out a major attack on Iran because of hopes of securing a so far elusive agreement to end his war with the country. Trump has indefinitely extended the truce and made clear that he wants to exit a war that has been proven to be a political liability. He says he had prepared a new attack for today, but Iran refused his outlines of a deal. And those are the headlines. This EWN and more at 11 or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
In Centurion, there's been an accident on the N1 North just after John Foster Drive, and it is causing slight delays between the Brakfontein interchange and Water Avenue, so please drive carefully as you head into that stretch. Also look out for faulty traffic lights and poles off at Witkopen and Rivonia Road, in Benoni at Rangeview Road and Tom Jones, as well as in Sandton at the M1 North and Grayston Drive. Traffic lights are also out in Pretoria, in Rosslyn at the R566 and Paul Kruger, in Danville at Vomhagen and Transoranje Road, as well as in Centurion at Old Johannesburg and Brakfontein. I'll have more updates at the top of the hour.
The Midday Report.
Weekdays
12 to 1.
Afternoon, Mandy. As to why the police took long to arrest Brown Mokgotsi, it's either here nor there. But on Friday, Brown Mokgotsi had to be arrested either by the fashion police or by SAPS. Brown Mokgotsi had to be arrested, especially after coming there at the commission wearing a red blazer and a crop top.
No, I'm finished. I am finished. That is so true. He came in his crop top and his red blazer. You guys are too funny.
The Midday Report
With Mandy Wiener.
12 to 1 on 702.
702.
The 702 Josie My Josie Walk the Talk is calling you or calling on you to walk with the people for the people on Sunday the 26th of July. Babize bonke. And this year you can choose from 3 different inner city routes. The 5-kilometer Victoria Yards route takes you from Ellis Park through the inspirational Johannesburg Cricket Club into Victoria Yards and past the Troyville Hotel, and then finish off at Ellis Park. So whether you're taking on the 5-kilometer, the 8-kilometer or 15-kilometer, enter now on primemediaplus.com and get ready for the 702 Josie My Josie Walk the Talk, hosted by the City of Johannesburg.
Out there? Oh, why would you want to go out there? Your job's out there. Traffic to get to your job's out there. The guy at your job who hasn't showered since your last job is out there. Winter living is designed for staying in, especially with Decofern's red-hot markdowns on our coziest furniture like armchairs and couches. Get loads of stock and speedy delivery now at your local Decofern or decofernsa.co.za.
From the people who know FICA best, Encino KYC invites you to the 2026 Fighting Financial Crime Conference. Join top prosecutors, investigators, and compliance leaders for a day of real-world case studies, practical strategies, and powerful networking. 24th of June in Johannesburg, and tickets are on sale now. Simply Google Encino Fighting Financial Crime. That's NCINO. Proudly brought to you by Encino KYC. Fighting financial crime isn't just talk, it's what we do every day.
702
Let's walk the talk on 92.7
and 106 FM.
Welcome back. It is 25 minutes to 11. This is the Clement Manyathela Show. My name is Clement Manyathela. I'm in for Clement this morning. We are hoping to speak to Dara Morero. He is the Johannesburg mayor. And if you're near a television, I'm sure you can see the scenes on the news channels where throughout this morning there's been an operation in the city of Johannesburg. It's a crackdown where the mayor and city officials are there. They seem to be demolishing illegal structures. And this is something that started last week already around the Small Street, JP Street area. And they continue today in Marble Towers. Now, something that stood out for me in the Eyewitness News bulletin was how there is a legal process now that is beginning to stop, or that is being started to stop the process of demolishing these illegal structures. The owners of the Marble Tower building have filed an urgent court interdict against the city's plans to demolish illegal structures. And if you know that area, you'll know that around Marble Towers, there's a lot of illegal buildings there, or illegal structures that have recently been demolished. Also around the courtroom. I can't get over how near the courtroom, which is a house of law, there are lawless or unlawfully erected structures, and they've been there for years. So this operation, I think we can all agree, is very, very necessary to clean up the city of Johannesburg. But of course, I'm not surprised that there is a pushback in terms of the law to stop this process of cleaning up that part of the city. Johannesburg JMPD spokesperson is out and about there on that crackdown, and he joins us now live. Golani, thank you so much. Can you just paint the picture for us as to where you are working this morning? I understand that you are somewhere around the Small Street area.
Good morning to you, Khomoto. Let me greet the listeners. Yes, we're right in the Johannesburg city centre, particularly next to the MTN taxi rank. And we've been doing our compliance operations in and around that area. Of course, we started at Marble Towers, but due to that court process that is currently taking place, we've just shifted a bit from there until we get a thumbs up for us to proceed with our operations. So we're just in and around the area, and one thing that we have picked up so far, we were at a butchery next to the MTN taxi rank where 5 undocumented foreign nationals were found working at that place. So they have now been arrested for the contravention of the Immigration Act. And also we've taken in the HR manager and the manager of the store as well for the contravention for harboring undocumented foreign nationals. But we are continuing, and especially regarding bylaws, the people trading illegally on our streets, they are being removed, and also checking compliances with all these businesses, if they are paying their rates and taxes, if their electricity and water is not connected illegally, or if they're not owing the city as well. And we'll continue doing that, led by the Executive Mayor of the City of Johannesburg, Councillor Dada Morero.
And around Marble Towers, are you demolishing structures around the building, or are you entering the building? What's the situation there?
It's in and outside the building. What we have seen, like we saw at a small street, that people have erected structures which are attached to the building. And for you to be erecting any type of structure or building within the city of Johannesburg, you need to go through the proper processes of town planning and building control as well, where you submit your plans, and if they are then approved, then you can proceed. And people haven't done that. And also inside Marble Towers as well, we'll be checking the floor plan, and if these whatever structures that are built inside are complying and do fall hand in hand with whatever documents that the city do have. And unfortunately, if they don't, then we will be removing them.
Without revealing too much, what is the strategy here, Kolani? Are you going for all illegally erected buildings throughout the Johannesburg city centre? Because that means you're going to be spending a lot of time there. What's the strategy? What's the idea?
No, the strategy is, of course, a multidisciplinary. So it's not only the JMPD, but various departments within the city of Johannesburg. And fortunately, with key and critical departments, like the Department of Development Planning, where building control and town planning is based under, then we do have a list of the specific buildings which aren't complying with the city. So we are targeting those areas and not just going on each and every building checking.
And the butcher that you say you arrested 2 illegal foreigners who were working there, have you also arrested the owner, a manager, someone who's employed them?
Yes, we can confirm we actually arrested 5 undocumented foreign nationals who were working there. And additionally, it was the HR manager and the manager of the store. So in total, it's 7 people who were arrested for the contravention of the Immigration Act.
And then the question that's been asked by most, really, Kolani, is around, I mean, this is great. This is good. People are glad that the city is looking clean. From what I've seen, it is looking clean, particularly that part of the city, which has always been a concern. What's the long-term approach, though? Because the reality is you're going to have to be placing men on the ground, boots on the ground, men and women on the ground to monitor, to police, to patrol, to parole. Is that what's going to be happening here?
Definitely, it's what's going to be happening, and it's what has been happening. We know that the executive mayor came into his tenure 2 years ago, and that's when he introduced the high-impact service delivery operations. At first, when we did start, we didn't see any much progress, but 2 years in within this program, we are starting to see big progress, and with all these operations that we are conducting, it is really positive. But what's important is sustainability and maintaining this presence within these areas. And one thing that is definitely helping is the collaboration with other law enforcement agencies. We are working closely with the South African Police Services and also the Gauteng Traffic Wardens and Home Affairs Immigration. And with this force multiplier on the ground, it makes it a bit easier to have eyes and ears across most parts of this Johannesburg in the city.
So just to make sure I have you, I'm hearing you right. So are there police officers, JMPD members that are stationed there to patrol and to make sure that the hawkers don't come back?
Yes, that's correct. we have a continuous and permanent deployment within the areas. One of the focus areas, of course, a couple of months back was around the Wanderers taxi rank, around Wanderers and De Villiers Street, where we had quote-unquote Itunosa. Fortunately, we have been able to deal with that, and this is important due to the sustainability and maintaining our presence in that area. And that is the strategy moving forward, is maintaining the presence in the area, having high visibility to deter any future contraventions, and of course working in collaboration with all these other stakeholders and entities.
And I think you cannot ignore the illegally occupied buildings and the hijacked buildings as you're on this operation as well. Is there an imminent approach to that also?
Definitely is, but with those ones, it needs an intricate approach from all stakeholders, whether it is the City of Johannesburg, whether it is Home Affairs and also the South African Police Services, but also working with investigators who know the buildings that have been hijacked, what processes has the city taken place to ensure that we follow the court orders or court procedures, so that we also don't break the law and ensure that these buildings are dealt with effectively.
And then in terms of bylaws, I mean, we know that there's bylaws that have been violated, and we might not know the law really around what exactly they are. But if you walk through the city of Johannesburg, you can clearly see that this is unlawful. So what are some of those bylaw violations that you're finding?
One of the bylaw violations is the ones which are totally obvious. Firstly, it is informal trading. So if people are trading on the side of the road, on the pavement, on the sidewalk, then we do check for that, whether they have permits for one. And secondly, if they are trading in the correct places. And thirdly, their conduct and how they are trading. And another bylaw, of course, is the waste management bylaws with illegal dumping, where people throw their waste in each and every way that they want. So we are also monitoring that. And if you are caught, then you will be issued a fine. But in total, the other bylaws that we'll be focusing on, it's water and electricity bylaws, but working closely with City Power and Joburg Water.
All right, Xolani Fihla, thank you so much for your time. Let's leave it there. He's the spokesperson of JMPD. We're going to be going and speaking to Dada Moreira, the Johannesburg mayor, who's also out there. And I want to invite you, I know many of you who are in Joburg, who travel through Johannesburg, have many questions, and you live the reality of seeing these structures on a daily. So please get in touch with us, 011-883-0702, 072-702-1702. Mr. Mayor, thank you so much for holding. Thank you for your time. I know it's a busy morning for you. Just speak us through this particular operation. This seems to be the second part of your operation that you've started last week, where we saw you targeting Small Street, and you are still in the same area.
Yes, thank you again. Good morning, Khomutso. I think we did indicate that we wanted to deal with the entire precinct around Small Street, Marble Towers. Remember, we started the project around De Villiers Street, Plain Street, coming this way, and we are satisfied on the work that was done around that area. Now we're targeting this precinct to reclaim it, to ensure that there's proper the trade that happens, which is legal, and no illegal structures are erected around the precinct. So that's what we're doing today. And the teams have also spread out almost throughout the city just to ensure by law enforcement.
Yeah. I think, Mr. Mayor, one of the questions that stays on my mind every time I see the visuals of the areas that you've been in, particularly around the Small Street area, is how did we get to that point? Particularly because you can see illegal structures attached to the court, the Johannesburg High Court, which is outrageous. How did we end up with structures there that are basically pushing into the court building?
Well, it has been a combination of issues in the city. One of the issues being lawlessness over time, and also issues of corruption, which includes some of the city officials who have also participated in corruption. So basically that is what we've been faced with, and we have a responsibility therefore to deal with those issues, and that's exactly what we're doing now. and all the illegal structures around Small Street, they've all been removed with the support also of the property owners around the precinct. Now we are dealing with a much difficult one, which is the Marble Towers, who are also taking chances by taking us to court, whilst they know very well that the documents that they have are not authentic and do not represent the decisions that were made by the development planning of the city. However, we've given them that opportunity, and hence we are now in court to listen and hear the judgment that will come out. But we are acting, we're not folding, and we're not retreating on these actions.
Yeah. You say that there's been city officials that are taking part in lawlessness. Or what exactly have they been doing? What illegal activities have they been doing?
Look, today we just found out that, for example, the Marble Towers have some stamps that were stamped on their documents, allegedly by EMS, and that's what they're trying to hold on to. But authentically, EMS is basically denying that this is their stamps. But we are tracing and investigating if there's any official that has been involved. We also established today that there are businesses that are not paying the municipality, but officials at our revenue department has been entering those accounts as if they've been paid. Whilst in fact they're owing, one building is owing us, it's a butchery, which is owing us a total of about 13 million. And we are acting on those things, and hopefully we'll also get to the officials that are involved in criminal activity and corruption.
But those people that were occupying those illegal structures around the upper part of Small Street, they were paying rent. Who are they paying rent to?
What we have established is that there are foreign nationals who are owning those illegal structures. Unfortunately, we could not get them anywhere around, and even the occupants could not point out and say these are the people we're paying rent to. So unless we are able to get that information, which I suppose the SAPS will help us try investigate and trace, if we are able to get to those criminal syndicates that are involved in erecting illegal structures and making people to trade in places that they can't trade.
Mr. Mayor, I'm going to ask you to just hold on the line. There are many questions coming in for you, and people want to know more about this. I'm going to take a quick break, and when we come back, more from Joburg Mayor Dada Morero.
702 Drive with John Perlman.
On our show, we cover the news, but we try to do it in a slightly different way. If there's breaking news, we give you the facts, but we're always looking for somebody who can explain to us why something is happening, and we apply that thinking to everything we do. That, yes, you want to know the what, but crucially, you want to know the why, and most important of all, you want to know how it might be fixed. The wonderful thing is we don't have one kind of listener who listens to our show. I think the kind of listeners we have are people who want to be heard, but they definitely listen very, very carefully. Once they've made up their mind, they come in very, very quickly, very sharp, very focused, and if they're not happy with the answer, you're going to find out very, very soon. And it's great because it keeps us interested and it keeps us on our toes. We're putting the show together, but thank goodness the listeners are keeping us accountable, and that's good for everyone.
702 Drive with John Perlman, weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m.
Don't miss out on 20 Buck Tuesday at Food Lovers Market. Shop incredible deals like 2 100-gram beef burger patties for 20 Rand, 3 80-gram chicken drumsticks for 20 Rand, 3 100-gram okra sizzler for 20 Rand, nachi trays for 20 Rand each, and any 2 grapefruit, nachi, orange or lemon thrift packs for just 20 Rand. Valid this Tuesday only at all Inland Food Lovers Market stores.
The world's best male and female paddle players are coming to South Africa. The historic Premier Paddle Pretoria P1 will be at Sunbet Arena Times Square from 26 July to the 2nd of August. Expect world-class action, unbelievable energy, premium hospitality, and an atmosphere unlike anything South African sport has seen before. This is Africa's biggest paddle tournament ever, and tickets are selling fast. Don't miss your chance to witness the sport's biggest stars in South Africa. Get your tickets now at primemediaplus.com.
We could tell you we're the best bank in Africa, but if you're a CEO or CFO looking to scale, you'll want the numbers. Like that 350 of Africa's corporates bank with us, that 80% of its billion-dollar corporates trust us with their business, and that our systems process 300 million rand a minute. That's 430 billion rand every day. Grow with the bank that does big numbers. Standard Bank Corporate and Investment Banking. Standard Bank is an authorized FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
Let's walk the talk.
702.
Welcome back. It's the Clement Manyathela Show with me, Khomotso Modise. We've got Joburg Mayor Dada Morero on the line. He's speaking to us about the operation that's happening in the Johannesburg CBD. Let's take a voice note.
Good day, Khomotso. I hope you're well. Khomotso, please do me a favor while you're interviewing Mr. Dada. Just ask him, when is he going to start to deal with the potholes? I mean, come on. Really, somebody has to think for us, you know?
You know, Mr. Mayor, I think whenever we have you on the show and whenever we have you on the station, people, they come up with all the problems that we're experiencing as in the city, right? And potholes are a big part of it, especially in the Joburg city centre, where I spend a lot of time because of courts. Is there a plan to deal with those as well now on the cards?
Well, the Johannesburg Roads Agency, part of what they had to do was to get the ash flood plant to be operational, which they've now succeeded. The plant is operational and they started quite doing work. Maybe the caller hasn't seen them coming through into this ward, but there's work now being done to focus on the potholes. Today, part of the operation includes closing of potholes in the CBD. So JRA is fully at work doing that. Yes, the caller is correct. We need to improve on the work that we're doing around road, potholes, closing of potholes and reinstatements, where work has been done by either the entity of Joburg Water and all other entities. So he's correct, and we're doing everything that we can to improve and accelerate on the closing of potholes. We should see a much better improvement since our plant has also been operational.
And what's the plan with the illegally occupied buildings? Because I'm sure as you're walking around there, you can clearly see all those buildings that are dilapidated. Many of them have been hijacked and many of them are being occupied illegally.
I think we have explained in the past, we do have a program called the Inner City Rejuvenation and the Bad Buildings Program. And part of what we've always said to communities is that there's a judgment that says once you remove people from those buildings, the law requires you to find them temporary emergency accommodation, which has been quite difficult and expensive from the city's point of view to afford. And as a result, it's basically derailing our move to deal with those buildings quite fast and efficiently. But what we have done was to now requesting the private sector to come on board to help us with setting up temporary accommodation. But over and above, also calling on the private sector to take over some of those buildings that are already in the hands of the city. So we are doing a mixed type of a program where we getting the private sector, we're getting ourselves and other provincial government entities to help us with that. But the main issue remains temporary accommodation, which is quite expensive and unaffordable.
Mr. Mayor, the glaring question here is, are you doing this because elections are around the corner? We have a date now.
Well,
You've been in power for some time. The small street problem was a problem when you arrived. It's a problem now. Are you doing this as a campaigning tool?
Yeah, I think we have confirmed that the narrative that always when we do work, people either says, is it because of the G20? Is it because of elections? And I think that narrative does not work. We took a decision, which I announced in June last year, that we are going to reclaim the inner city of Johannesburg. We prepared our systems internally. The 2nd of October, we're full-blown in the inner city dealing with the issues, and we're continuing on that program throughout the city of Johannesburg, and it has nothing to do with whether there's an election and there's no election. And otherwise, every 5 years there'll always be an election in local government. So it's that time, then work must happen. Whether there's November coming or not, work must continue to happen.
Johannesburg Mayor Dada Morero, thank you so much for your time.
The Aubrey Masangu Show on 702.
I cover on my show issues of advisory, whether it is legal matters, whether it is financial matters. I cover day-to-day issues as far as current affairs are concerned. I cover the politics of the day and how we as South Africans are interpreting them. My listener is a curious 702 lander. They want to know what are the backstories, the stories behind what we are hearing on the airwaves. They want to understand what drives the different issues that have us talking. What I love about the 702 family and 702 Land is the fact that we have 702 Landers who are responsive, who are present, who care about their communities and who want to know how they can be a part of the process of making our areas better, but also our country better. And that for me is a great privilege. I am totally indebted to the providence out there to be talking to these people on a daily basis.
The Aubrey Masangu Show, weekdays from 8 to midnight.
Brush, stroke, paint, color, protect, and admire. From roof paint to exterior textures and interior silk, Warrior Paints has it all. The product range and stylish colors are amazing. And what's more, Warrior Paints has crushed prices for incredible savings. Enjoy that good old-fashioned personal service you deserve. For price, quality, variety, and service, Warrior Paints is streets ahead. Warrior Paints, affordable, lasting luxury.
Famous for available staff, famous for knowledgeable staff, famous for always helping you with a smile. Now with 10 Chamberlain stores across Gauteng, our expert staff are here to help you with all your hardware needs. Paint, power tools, gardening, pet care, and plumbing. Big on stock, strong on service, built on values. Chamberlain, famous for hardware since 1903.
Yo, nothing humbles you like a cold shower.
Happens fast, eh? 1 minute you're living your best life.
Next minute you're questioning everything.
Fair. Here's a quick tip. If your geezer's acting up, don't wait for disaster. Small fixes now save big problems later.
And remember, if you buy cheap, you will shower in the lounge.
We've got loads more tips where that came from.
Quickot, #1 in water heating solutions. Quickot,
add warmth to life.
It's 11 o'clock, so it's time for Eyewitness News. When we come back, we're going to be speaking to Daniela Tom. She's the head of client and talent experience at Strider Digital, and we're talking about how to build the skills that will matter most in an AI-driven workplace.
This is EWN.
Good morning, I'm Sfiso Zulu. The NPA has confirmed that the prosecutor accused of contempt for not showing up in court will meet with the Director of Public Prosecutions in Mpumalanga. Mkhuseli Ntaba failed to pitch yesterday during bail proceedings in an extortion and money laundering case involving taxi bosses Josie Banyoni, Bafana Sindane and 2 others. The matter was struck off the roll in the Kwaggafontein Magistrates Court and a warrant of arrest against the prosecutor was issued. Mongezi Koko has more.
Prosecutor Mkhuseli Ntaba was found in contempt of court after failing to arrive for the formal bail application despite being ordered to return to court at 9 o'clock. The Chief Magistrate Tuletu Tonjeni subsequently issued a warrant of arrest for Ntaba, while the NPA later confirmed it had been unable to reach or locate him. The developments triggered widespread speculation, with Eyewitness News also reliably learning of alleged threats against officials linked to the case. However, Ntaba resurfaced this morning and is now expected to account for his absence to the provincial head of the NPA in Mpumalanga. NPA spokesperson Kaiser Khanyago.
Yeah, the prosecutor will be meeting with the director of prosecutions in the province today, so that we get a report of what really transpired.
The NPA has already announced that disciplinary action will be instituted against Ntaba as it moves to re-enroll the case. Mongezi Koko, Eyewitness News.
There's been chaos at a major butchery in the Joburg CBD where Mayor Dada Morero Morero is leading an operation to enforce the city's bylaws. Home Affairs officials have been inspecting the identity documents of employees in the shop this morning. Morero says the operation is targeting businesses suspected of breaking the city's laws. Jabuli Limbata has more.
The butchery on Plain and Plain Street was temporarily closed this morning during the raid. Some people working in the shop dodged police by hiding on top of fridges, while others ran off into the back of the building. Joburg Human Settlements MMC Mlungisi Mabaso says the workers were running away because they are undocumented foreign nationals.
They've got majority of foreign nationals that are employed here. I mean, we can't allow such things when we've got, lots of South Africans that are sitting at home, unemployed with no hope for future, and yet we've got businesses in the inner city that have employed foreign nationals in their majority of the staff complement.
Mabaso says the HR personnel and the manager may be held liable for harboring undocumented foreigners. Jabuli Limbata, Eyewitness News, Johannesburg, CBD.
The Palm Ridge Magistrates Court is set to deliver judgment in the case of a man accused of setting the Usindiso building in Marshalltown on fire. Stembiso Mdlalose admitted in 2014 to starting the blaze that killed 76 people in the Johannesburg CBD in August 2023. He initially claimed he started the fire on the ground floor of the 5-story hijacked building while trying to burn the body of a man he had allegedly killed. But during the trial, Mdlalose changed his story, telling the court that he was under the influence of drugs when he made his confession. Alfara Mushwana reports.
Stembiso Mdlalose confessed twice to starting the fire that claimed 76 people. The first confession was made before the Commission of Inquiry established to investigate the blaze, while the second was made to a magistrate. But during his trial, Mdlalose claimed he was under the influence and was also forced by a Tanzanian drug lord to make what he now says was a false confession. Mdlalose then altered his story again, telling the court that he took the blame for the fire because he was homeless and wanted shelter, food and access to education in prison.
Now the truth is, I made this illusion so that I can get arrested because I wanted to run away and escape being on the street, being shelterless. I thought prison would give me a second chance. As I've seen people going to prison, they come back, they've got education, they've got degrees. So that's one thing that I had on my mind.
When the state questioned him during cross-examination over his ever-changing story, Mdlalose stormed out of the courtroom and returned to the holding cell. Alfa Ramshwana, Eyewitness News.
And U.S. President Donald Trump says he's held off on carrying out a major attack on Iran because of hopes of securing a so far elusive agreement to end his war with the country. Trump has indefinitely extended the truce and made clear that he wants to exit a war that has proven to be a political liability. He says he had prepared a new attack for today after Iran refused his outlines of a deal. Iran's President Masoud Pezeshkian recently said that speaking with Washington does not mean surrender and that Iran would defend its dignity and rights. The U.S. President says he has instructed the military to be prepared to go forward with a full large-scale assault of Iran on a moment's notice in the event that an acceptable deal is not reached.
I was asked by Saudi Arabia, Qatar, UAE, and some others if we could put it off for 2 or 3 days, a short period of time, because they think that they are getting very close to making a deal. And if we can do that where there's no nuclear weapon going into the hands of Iran, I think, and if they're satisfied, we will be probably satisfied also.
Gold is trading at $4,541.94 an ounce. The rand is at 16.65 to the dollar, 22.33 to the pound, 19.38 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $109.84 a barrel.
In the traffic, if you're heading towards Bedford View, expect slight delays on the N3 South due to an accident just before Marlborough Drive.
A partly cloudy day in store for Gauteng with isolated showers expected. The temperatures will peak at highs between 16 and 19 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour. The NPA has confirmed that the prosecutor accused of contempt for not showing up in court will meet with the Director of Public Prosecutions in Mpumalanga.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
Joburg is more than just a city. It's an energy
energy that connects us all.
That's what makes this one so special.
In 702, Josie My Josie Walk the Talk, hosted by the City of Johannesburg. Enter now on primemediaplus.com.
702.
Live
On the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856.
92.7.
And 106 FM. Let's walk the talk.
Welcome back. It's 7 minutes past 11. It's the third and final hour of the Clement Manyathela Show. My name is Clement Manyathela. I'm in for Clement this morning. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you missed the first 2 hours of the show, where have you been? They've really been very eventful. But you can catch up on the Prime Media Plus app or on our YouTube channel, and you'll find the conversations there neatly packaged for you to visit or revisit if you were already listening. It is the final hour of the show, and I'm looking forward to the conversations that we're going to be having. We're going to be speaking about AI. It's a conversation that we cannot run away from. I always say AI is a buzz term because you can't say word. It's 2 words. So it's a buzz term currently, artificial intelligence. But how do we build the skills that matter most in an AI-driven workplace, especially in workplaces that are prioritizing using artificial intelligence? We're having that conversation in just a bit. And then in the final half hour of the show, we're going to be speaking about RSV. It's our health and wellness feature. And we're speaking about RSV, which is respiratory syncytial virus. And it's popularly seen in infants as well as in younger children. How do you go about identifying it? When should you be concerned when you see symptoms? What symptoms should you be on the lookout for? We're going to be speaking to Diane Buron, who's a vaccines medical head at Sanofi, South Africa. So that's our conversations over the next hour or so. Please do weigh in and join the conversation. The number to dial is 011-883-0702. Alternatively, send us a WhatsApp on 072-702-1702 or get in touch with me on X. My handle is at @Motso_Modise.
For more about 702,
Go to primemediaplus.com.
So I don't know about you, but in my space, particularly around the journalism space and even communication, there's so many conversations around AI and how we are incorporating it into our work, how we can go about doing that responsibly, and what it should look like, right? There's systems, there's policies. In fact, I'm realizing that if you work for a company that doesn't have a policy, everyone's asking how, because every other person has a policy or there is a policy in the works. AI has made one thing clear, that being good at your jobs means something very different to what it did before. When technology can replicate certain outputs at scale, the advantage shifts to those who can think better, decide faster, apply judgment where it matters, and basically do what the AI can't. And for this conversation, we're speaking to Daniela Tom. She's the head of client and tenant experience at Strider Digital, and she joins us now on the line. Daniela, thank you so much for your time. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Komoto. It's great to be back. Thanks for having me.
Daniela, how has AI changed what employers actually value in employees? Because I think we can agree that there does seem to be a shift in what employers are now valuing in the ideal employee.
Absolutely, Komoto. AI is climbing the skill ladder with us in ways that previous automation phases never achieved. So instead of replacing routine admin and physical tasks like we saw in the digital or even the industrial revolution, AI is now performing what we call complex knowledge work at a speed that we often just can't compete with. And because of that, we have a responsibility to be aware of how much AI has and will change employer expectations. So, for example, and in a lot of cases that I see, being a good engineer alone is now no longer a sufficient baseline. The focus from our clients or the employers that we work with has shifted towards whether that engineer can now use AI to boost their work while also providing unique value that AI can't replicate.
And are we finding employers, do we find that they are now supporting employees on this, training them more? Or is the approach find employees who are AI fluent?
It's both, Komoto. It's definitely both what we are seeing. But I think, a lot of the responsibility is on us in terms of learning how to become AI fluent and future ready, for this change that we are inevitably going to be a part of.
What exactly does that AI fluency mean? We use it so loosely, right? So you say, there's I'm fluent in AI, I'm fluent in AI. But what exactly does it mean? It surely cannot mean that you know how to use all AI tools perfectly.
No, it doesn't, thankfully. AI fluency doesn't mean that everyone now needs to drop what they're doing and study a degree in software engineering. Think about it more like basic literacy, a baseline skill that we all need to have. So the goal when we speak about AI fluency for the majority of employees in the workforce is to find simply a practical comfort with it. So you are on the right track if you know how to prompt these tools well, how to understand the basic logic of how they process information, and have good enough know-how to not blindly trust the input. You must remember, Komoto, that humans play a very important part in this AI era. The technology itself is just really good at predicting the next word or line of code, to put it simply. It still needs what we call the human in the loop, who can step in with our own logic, our own skepticism, our own expertise to ensure that everything that it creates is accurate, is safe, and is actually of good quality.
We're speaking to Daniela Tom. She is the head of client and talent experience at Strider Digital. And we are speaking about AI in the workplace, how to build the skills that will matter most in an AI-driven workplace. I want to ask you, if you are using AI more and more in your workplace, get in touch with us. How have you incorporated that? Has your workplace been training or teaching people? Or, you know what happens with a lot of companies, right? Capital, they'll go about looking for the skills or someone who already has the skills, as opposed to upskilling those who are, employees. And I hope that that's not the approach that's been taken by many of your companies. So get in touch with us. How are your workplaces going about doing this? But also, how are you finding upskilling yourself in AI fluency? How are you going about doing that? Where did you even start looking? Because I think that's the question. How do I even go about doing this? How do I know which AI tools I should be learning to prompt in my skills and in my work and in my space? I want to hear from you. The number to dial is 011-883-0702, 072-702-1702. I do see some of your voice notes coming in. Let's take one.
Hi, Homogender team. My question to your guest is, what if AI is a bubble, just like the .com bubble? And secondly, what about the market? Does AI alone has a market, or we trying to sneak in AI to the traditional market or existing market? And lastly, what about emotional intelligence? Because humans have emotional intelligence when it comes to applying themselves. And what about those jobs that requires emotional intelligence more than intellectual intelligence? David in Parkwood.
Thank you so much for that voice note, David. Daniela, around the market, I think there is a market. I think the way people, there's been great response, and we're seeing so many AI tools now coming out, popping up. So I don't think the market is a question here, is it?
No, absolutely not. AI is here to stay whether we like it or not, Komoto. But I would really like to touch on David's last question in terms of emotional intelligence, if I may, because that is an incredibly important component to AI and as it evolves. So, I like to focus on three things. And in response to David, critical thinking, number one. judgment, number 2, and number 3, relationship building. So those are all, for me, EQ, because we're talking about taste and discernment. So firstly, AI can generate text and look up data, but it can't replicate what I call higher order thinking. It takes a human to look at a mess of fragmented information and be able to synthesize it into a strategic point of view that's really relevant to your unique situation. The second thing is AI lacks discernment or taste. We need deep domain expertise to look at an AI's output, call out what's mediocre, and then use our own judgment to refine it into something that's excellent and something that's meaningful. And lastly, at the end of the day, companies are still made of people. And David, the ability to move people, I'm sure you will agree with me, remains stubbornly human. We are much better at building trust, at mentoring a colleague, at negotiating, or even managing conflict than what AI is. That's why we have something that I like to term ethical reliability as human beings and solid judgment. And these are things that companies will continue to extend to people and not to AI. The last point that I'd like to make on that, because, you know, we mustn't forget that we have something to offer in this AI evolution, right? We have something to bring to the table. And think about it this way, Khomotso. AI excels at generation, but it lacks genuine understanding in the human context. So it doesn't know what is worth creating. It doesn't know why what it creates matters. It doesn't know how much value what it creates can bring. It doesn't know who this information serves and when the best time to serve it is. So these are all uniquely human cognitive skills that we are now, you know, that we have a competitive advantage with, because they represent things that AI can only approximate. They can't truly know for itself.
Yeah. Ooh. Well, that's great news, I think, for those of us who are trying to keep a job.
Yeah.
Let me take some of the calls. I do see many of your calls coming in. Let's start with Hassan in Kempton Park. Good morning. Thank you so much for your call.
Thank you very much, and thank you for this topic. Last week, a number of activists met, and we had invited Joan Kinyua, a data labeler from Kenya. She's with the Data Labelers Association there. And she spoke about how they're to train these bots to make the AI industry possible.
Yeah.
And some of them even talking about sexual relations with 2-year-old children, etc. And she's suffering post-traumatic stress, as I point out. But the labor conditions are really appalling. She'll be coming to the country in June, early June. But I really think those experiences about people who made AI possible, let alone the other obstacles of how AI eats up our water supply, will take our energy supply, take up land. And there's a lot of experience in the world where AI data centers are not only a good, but they take a lot of resources from countries like ours that are water starved. So there's a lot more discussions. But what she spoke about workers' rights is appalling, that they've actually got much poorer after educating the bots about what the feet of a chair is called, etc. And they've been at it for 10 years, even including online South Africans, workers from Madagascar, Mozambique, etc. So clearly we have a lot to learn from others.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much for your call, Hassan. I suppose, Daniela, that's the downside of AI, isn't it?
Absolutely. There's good and bad to everything, Khomotso. And I think, you know, we when I speak about we, government, big business, we as individuals need to be aware of the pros and the cons that AI is having, or the pros and the cons and the impact that AI is having on us as individuals, as community. There is an ethical responsibility across the board to ensure that how we integrate AI into our society is sustainable and is also safe. And I do agree with Hudson. You know, there are, from an infrastructure perspective, from an environmental perspective, there's a lot that we still have to learn and respond and react to in the case of what AI is doing. And I really do hope that there are institutions, governments, and business alike that are looking into that and are committed to that, because otherwise it's not going to be sustainable for us.
When we come back, we'll be speaking about the ethics around AI in the workplace, and I'll be taking more calls. Stanley and Sammy, I do see you holding there. We'll come back to take your calls right after this.
John Perlman. Weekday afternoons,
3 to 6.
Quite a few of our listeners are saying that this seems to them that at the very least you ought to investigate the possibility that he might have been subject to some kind of intimidation or threat. Is that something that you are at least considering possible?
We are unable to even think on what could have happened in the circumstances where there's no explanation that has been forthcoming. Unfortunately, it's unprecedented in the history of the NPA.
Advocate Mthunzi Magas.
John Perlman.
3 to 6 on 702.
702 Josie My Josie Walk the Talk is calling on you to walk with the people for the people on Sunday the 26th of July, Babize bonke. And this year you can choose from 3 different inner city routes. The 15-kilometer Mandela Bridge route takes you from Ellis Park through town up to and through the Constitutional Hill precinct down to Braamfontein and over Mandela Bridge. Then it's through Newtown and past the Market Theatre back to Ellis Park. So whether you're taking on the 15-kilometer, 5-kilometer or 8-kilometer, enter now on primemediaplus.com and get ready for the 702 Josie My Josie Walk the Talk, hosted by the City of Johannesburg.
Saddle up. Hollywood Bets invites you to join the race day festivities this champion season. The 2026 Grade 1 Hollywood Bets Gold Challenge kickstarts the action. Gallop towards your chance to win a share of 2.5 million rand in cash and prizes with the thrilling Season of Champions competition. Bet 50 rand or more on horse racing online or at your nearest branch and put yourself in the running for gold. Bet now. T's and C's apply. Hollywood Sportsbook is a licensed betting operator. No persons under the age of 18 years are permitted to gamble. Winners know when to stop. South African Responsible Gambling Foundation toll-free counseling line 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp help to 076 675 0710.
When it comes to protecting your workforce, trust the workwear brand that has been protecting workers for over 150 years, Sweetall. Sweetall has overalls and uniform solutions for every industry, so your team is safe, comfortable, and ready to tackle any challenge. Visit our Boksburg showroom, shop A1 Atlas Road, Westwood, Boksburg, or go to sweetall.com today. Sweetall, we never let you down. Superior protective workwear since 1871.
Mom, I know what I want to be when I grow up.
Oh, really?
I want to be an astronaut.
An astronaut? Aren't you aiming a little high?
Well, that's where you come in. I need you to buy me Pediasure. It has 27 vitamins and minerals to support my growth so that I hit all the milestones, and it's scientifically proven.
Okay, Miss Clever. Where can I buy Pediasure?
It's available at pharmacies and retailers in South Africa.
Pediasure by Abbott. Approved by kids to fuel their dreams.
Don't miss out on 20 Buck Tuesday at Food Lovers Market. Shop incredible deals like 2 100-gram beef burger patties for 20 Rand, 3 80-gram chicken drumsticks for 20 Rand, 3 100-gram okra sizzler for 20 Rand, nachi trays for 20 Rand each, and any 2 grapefruit, nachi, orange or lemon thrift packs for just 20 Rand. Valid this Tuesday only at all Inland Food Lovers Market stores.
In a world that is continuously evolving, Africa is adapting, innovating, and finding new pathways for growth. R&B Africa Focus is back for its 5th season to unpack the conversations shaping the continent right now. Every week on 702, award-winning journalist Crystal Orderson takes a closer look at influential economies and emerging opportunities across Africa with insights from R&B experts and regional voices. Catch R&B Africa Focus Thursday on 702 Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa. Make sure you watch the in-depth video series with episodes released weekly on Prime Media Plus. R&B, a leading African corporate and investment bank.
702
Let's walk the talk on 92.7
and 106 FM.
Welcome back. This is the Clement Manyathela Show. My name is Clement Manyathela. I'm in for Clement this morning. We're having a conversation around AI and how to build the skills that will make or matter most in an AI-driven workplace. And my guest for that conversation is Daniela Tom. She's the head of client and talent experience at Strider Digital. I want to take some of your calls. I do see Stanley, you've been holding for some time. Thank you so much for your patience. Good morning. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, Khmoto. Good morning to you and Daniela. And I just wanted to share with you, I'm the author. Actually, my book is getting released this week that I've been working on doing the research. It's called The Human Resistance, a Leader's Guide to the Psychology of AI Adoption. So I've been doing the research worldwide on the resistance to AI adoption in organizations. And two quick thoughts there just from the research. There's firstly about 70% of AI initiatives in organizations don't fail because of the technology. It fails because of the human resistance to the technology. So I think that's a huge stat that's there already that we need to pay attention to. The second thing, and I love what Daniela said earlier on, is they're saying a new human is coming into the workplace called the augmented human. So we need to understand that our jobs are not necessarily being taken, but the way we work is being replaced. And I tell people all the time, AI is not going to take your job. The person who can do your job knowing how to use AI is going to take your job. So that's why it's not something we can run away from. We need to learn, and I'll leave this as a final thought, we need to learn to work with AI in such a way that AI sees the things we don't see. They see the patterns and things we don't necessarily see, and they do it much faster. But as Daniela said beautifully, and this is what people need to understand as well, human beings will always be needed because AI doesn't understand emotions. It doesn't understand the reason things are being said and done the way they are because it's not physically there to understand the human in the room. So I just wanted to share that this is a really big problem. I think AI worldwide, that one of the big issues that need to be addressed is how do we overcome this resistance to AI in the human space? And maybe for Daniela's question from my side is, what have they found in terms of resistance thus far, and how do you as an organization deal with the resistance that comes up?
All right, Stanley, thank you so much for that, and good luck with your book. Hey, congratulations, well done.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, Daniela, just the answer for that question.
Khomoto, yeah, I mean, Stanley is singing my song. Absolutely, 100%. So what I'm seeing is that employers are definitely moving away from there being a division between tech people and people. They're looking less for people who are experts in one specific area. So traditionally, we would call those T-shaped people. They're specialists in a particular industry or skill. And instead, they're hunting for what we now call M-shaped people, M for mango-shaped people. These are professionals who bring genuine depth across multiple different domains. So if you are wanting to stand out to employers right now, you, in my opinion, need to show up with three main things. The first is that employers don't want people who are standing on the sidelines or who are afraid to adopt the technology before they don't want certainty before they touch the technology. They don't want people to be afraid of adopting the technology. They want people who are actively diving in and experimenting with AI. So already, if there is that resistance, they're not going to want to work with those employees. They're looking for people who are more open to that experimentation. The second thing that you need to be able to show is how you can use AI to increase your productivity. So you need to be able to move fast and show that you can create real business value at the same time. And finally, it really comes down to your ability to navigate. Ultimately, the top talent will be the people that we can create, or the people who can create and apply new knowledge at speed. So all while being trusted to steer the business in the right direction. So speaking to Stanley's point about the difference between what humans can do and what AI can't do, is we can use AI to create, we can use AI to apply new knowledge at speed, but we still need that human in the loop, that ethical reliability. And that is what gives us the advantage over AI right now.
All right, Daniela, Tom, that's all we have time for. Thank you so much for your insights. She's the head of client and talent experience at Strider Digital. And what I'm taking from this conversation is this quote, and I don't want to botch it, I don't want to butcher it, but I'm going to try. It's not AI that's going to take your job. It's the person who learned how to use AI that's going to take your job. Thank you for that. It is just a little over 11:30, and Bali Lamini is standing by with the headlines. Good morning.
Thanks, Khomotso. Good morning. The NPA has confirmed that the prosecutor accused of contempt for not showing up in court will meet with the Director of Public Prosecutions in Mpumalanga. Mkhuseli Ndaba failed to pitch yesterday during bail proceedings in an extortion and money laundering case involving taxi bosses Joe Sibanyoni, Bafana Sindani and 2 others. The matter was struck off the roll in the Kwaggafontein Magistrates Court, and a warrant of arrest against the prosecutor was then issued. Western Cape officials say disaster response teams remain on high alert as cleanup and recovery operations continue following devastating storms. The inclement weather has claimed 11 lives and caused widespread flooding and severe damage to critical infrastructure. Several communities remain cut off after bridges were washed away and roads badly eroded. While the South African Social Security Agency has conceded it's still facing challenges with its grant review process, SASSA introduced the grant review program last year to verify grant beneficiaries and to curb fraud. CEO Themba Matlou says the agency is struggling to reach some beneficiaries to verify and update their personal details. Well, those are the headlines. This EWN and more at midday or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
In the traffic at this hour, if you are heading towards Bedford View, there has been an accident on the N3 South and it's causing heavy delays. This is from Marlborough all the way to Modderfontein Road, so please be a little bit patient as you head into that stretch. Look out for 40 traffic lights in Parktown at Jan Smuts and Empire Road, and poles off at Witkoppen and Rivonia Road, as well as in Sandton at the M1 North and Greyston Drive. Over in the capital city, traffic lights are also out in Gasfontein at EC Smart Street and Gasfontein Road, in Centurion at Old Johannesburg and Brakfontein, as well as at Old Johannesburg and Trichard Road. From me, Khomotso Munya, you have a good afternoon. Karabo Jali is up next with your next traffic update.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app. 702 Afternoons with Relebohile Mabodja.
702 Afternoons is about all things in life, from music to inspiration. We get an opportunity to explore science, mental health, food. I almost feel like there's nothing we don't do on my show. One of the things I absolutely love about 702 Land and the 702 family is that we are so sharing. We share tears, laughs, smiles. We share in the amazing times and celebrate together as well. We have a range of topics, but when it comes to what we do cover on the show, absolutely everything. My listener is somebody who wants to grow, evolve, develop. They're empathetic, they are loving, they are so special that even when they don't have, they come through and share, and more importantly, they know how to walk the talk.
702 Afternoons with Relebohile Mabodja. Weekdays from 1 to 3 p.m.
Hello, Joburg. The city of Johannesburg Executive Mayor, Councillor Dada Morero, invites you to tune in for the live broadcast of the 2026 State of the City Address on Wednesday, 20 May. The address themed Building a Foundation for the Future. Your city, our city, will be broadcast at 2 p.m. on the city's social media platforms. Mayor Morero will reflect on the city's progress and outline a way forward where investment in rebuilding infrastructure, reclaiming the inner city, and improving service delivery is prioritized.
Gabelo's the go-to guy for renovations. His bakkie is full of tools, ready to build dreams. But one day, a reckless driver takes him out. Now, his bakkie is standing still. No wheels, no money, Kabza. Oh. But with budget, he'd be back on site faster than you can say DIY. Don't let expensive days stop your hustle. Visit budgetinsurance.co.za for a business insurance quote today. Budget is a licensed non-life insurer and FSP. T's and C's online.
The Wits School of Governance develops leaders and innovators, those who reimagine governance, strengthen institutions, and drive inclusive growth. Apply now for postgraduate diplomas, masters, PhD programs, and executive education. We equip change makers to lead boldly and with purpose. Governance matters. Choose WSG to shape the future. Visit wsg.ac.za before 31st May.
Joburg is more than just a city. It's an energy, a pulse, and a feeling connecting everybody. The heart of Mzansi.
It's Joburg.
In celebration of this, 702 has partnered with Jozi My Jozi, and we're calling on you to walk through the city center with us.
Walk the talk.
In the 702 Jozi My Jozi Walk the Talk. Babize bonke. On Sunday, 26 July, we're going to the iconic Joburg CBD, the home of dream creators and operators, where we dominate and history make. So join us and be a part of something special.
I'm ready to rock this book.
Because when Joburg walks together, extraordinary things happen. Enter now on primemediaplus.com and get ready for 702 Jozi My Jozi Walk the Talk this July, hosted by the City of Johannesburg. Walk with the people, for the people, for our Jozi. Babize bonke. Enter Walk the Talk now on primemediaplus.com.
702
Health and Wellness.
Welcome back. The Health and Wellness feature is brought to you by Cipla. Stay connected with us. So, for Health and Wellness today, we are speaking about RSV. It's respiratory syncytial virus, and it's pretty prevalent among babies and young children. And for that conversation, we're speaking to Diane Buron, vaccines medical health at Sanofi, medical head rather at Sanofi. Thank you so much for your time, Diane. So RSV is one of the most common respiratory infections in babies and young children. Most children will get it by the age of 2. In many cases, it starts out looking like a cold with a runny nose, cough, and mild fever. But RSV is also a leading cause for serious lower respiratory infections in infants and can quickly progress to bronchitis, pneumonia, and hospitalization, especially in the first months of life. Diane Buron, vaccines head, medical head at Sanofi. Diane, just talk us through, why is it so prevalent in children and what exactly is RSV? Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you very much for having me. So absolutely everything that you said, and so RSV, as you said, respiratory syncytial virus. So it is a virus that is very common, especially during a season. It has a strong seasonality. Usually it starts around February or March, and last year, for example, it lasted until the end of July. So it has a very strong incidence and prevalence during this season, meaning that a lot of babies, and as you said, a majority of children under the age of 2 will be exposed and will be infected by RSV. It can be, so it is very common, but it can lead to very severe infection, especially for the youngest infants, meaning the babies that are less than 6 months of age. So those babies, and whether or not they have underlying conditions, even very healthy babies can develop very severe forms of RSV, leading potentially to hospitalizations, and in the most severe cases, leading to death as well.
And which babies are most at risk? Is it all babies? You know how we'll often hear that premature babies and those with underlying conditions might be at greater risk of such viruses?
Mm-hmm. It is true that there are some underlying conditions such as pulmonary disease or cardiac disease or being born premature that can lead to heightened susceptibility or higher risk of developing a severe disease. But beyond that, every data that come from every country show that even the babies that are born healthy and full term are at risk as well of developing severe disease. And actually, among all of the babies that we see that are hospitalized, the majority of them, around 70% of them, are born full term and with no underlying condition. So every baby is at risk for severe RSV disease.
And how would a baby or a child contract or develop this virus? So would they have to be in contact with someone with RSV, or how does it work?
Yes, so it's a respiratory disease. So like many of them, like for example influenza or pertussis, they get spread when we are in contact with a person that is carrying the virus. In the case of RSV, and when droplets are being spread when we speak, when we cough, etc. And it is very common that the disease, such as that RSV, is spread amongst family members or at school or any setting when we are close together and when there are infected people.
Diane, it sounds like it's very difficult to identify RSV or be able to tell that your child has RSV because of these symptoms, because it sounds like flu-like symptoms. So what are the early warning signs?
No, you're right. The usual symptoms are very common amongst other respiratory diseases. So the early warning sign, especially for very young infants, should be difficulty feeding, unusual sleepiness, fast breathing or breathing difficulties. You might think again it's very common to other forms of respiratory diseases, but whether it's RSV or not, any such symptoms should trigger a visit to a healthcare professional, or really to make sure that everything is okay and to make sure that the baby receives the appropriate care.
So how do you know to get help? Is it when the symptoms intensify or if they persist?
So definitely if they intensify or persist, healthcare should be sought out. But even especially for very young infants, the earlier the better in terms of seeking care and making sure that a disease that might seem, or symptoms that might seem very mild or very common, to make sure that they do not evolve into something more serious, especially as we know that access to healthcare might be delayed sometimes, are not always most easily accessible. So the sooner the parents act, the better, just to make sure that everything is being taken care of and that there is no risk of something developing into a more severe form.
Yeah. We're speaking to Diane Buron, vaccines medical head at Sanofi, South Africa, and she's speaking to us about RSV, respiratory syncytial virus, particularly in young children and in babies. And it affects children really around the age of 2 and younger. Most children will get it by then. Many cases starting out by looking like a flu or a cold. Get in touch with us if your child has been diagnosed with RSV, or if you fear that they may have the virus. Get in touch with us. Give us a call, 072 702 1702. That's the WhatsApp number. And if you'd rather give us a call, it's 011 883 0702. So I think, Diane, once a parent has identified, I think sometimes there are risks of you take the child to the doctor and sometimes they don't immediately test for RSV. Is it one of the tests that would be done immediately upon presenting these symptoms, particularly flu-like symptoms, or would they need more to test for RSV?
So diagnosis is usually made through symptoms and clinical presentation of the disease, and then potentially the more specific test might be done when a more severe disease presents itself. So yeah, a systematic test might not be done.
And are there ways that we can go about preventing RSV in children? Is it keeping the surfaces clean? Are there any preventative measures?
So there are, of course, what we call the non-pharmaceutical intervention that can always be helpful, and we've learned that especially during COVID times, when we know that there are ways to prevent disease spread or catching infection by making sure that we clean our hands, that we keep our distance with someone that is presenting symptoms, etc. But what is really great in the case of RSV is that we now have prevention strategies available in South Africa that show really strong effectiveness, and that show that, and those are pharmaceutical interventions, and that show that you can reduce RSV hospitalization or even severe disease by more than 80%. So there are preventative pharmaceutical strategies available now in South Africa. So anyone can speak with a healthcare professional, be it a GP, a nurse, pharmacist, to know more about those prevention strategies and how to access them.
And are there particular questions that parents should be asking when it comes to maybe suspecting RSV or even with the diagnosis of RSV? What questions can parents ask pediatricians and doctors?
They can always ask, to what are the warning signs that the disease is getting more severe, to make sure that they can be aware of that and that they can act in case those warning signs do appear. And generally speaking, how to prevent it. Well, once a child is already sick, it's difficult to prevent it. But even for parents that are expecting, for example, or where the baby is just born and we are now in an active, ongoing RSV season, just to reach out to healthcare professionals to see how can they prevent the disease before any symptom can appear.
And in terms of treatment, how is it usually treated?
So it's a viral infection, so antibiotics are not recommended or are not useful in those kind of infection. So usually we treat the symptoms. So if there's a fever, we provide medicine for that. If there's a cough, etc. So that's the difficulty of treating viral disease, is that we mostly have to treat the symptoms until the body can clear the infection.
And is it easily treated?
It depends on how the presentation of the disease, if it's a mild or if it's a more severe disease. As we mentioned before, when it develops into more severe forms, it can lead to hospitalization. That means that the treatment the initial treatment is not working, or maybe there's no initial treatment because the disease developed very rapidly and there was no access to healthcare. So it really depends on how the disease is presenting itself. And as we mentioned, there are a number of deaths that are happening following RSV infection. And the majority of those deaths, so 95% of those deaths, happen in babies below 6 months. And unfortunately, more than a quarter of those deaths happen outside of hospitals.
All right, we're going to take a bit of a break. When we come back, we'll continue our conversation with Diane Buron, who's speaking to us about RSV, respiratory syncytial virus. And I'm interested in what the landscape currently looks like in South Africa. So what those numbers look like in South Africa, treatment in South Africa, and whether we should be concerned about where we can find treatment or not. More on this conversation after the break.
The Money Show with Stephen Grootes on 702.
My show is about your money, and it's about how people have made their money. But it's also about what happened to your money today, what happened on the JSE, what's happening overseas. All of these things, all about the way in which people make their money, spend their money, use their money, and in so many ways, use their money to make more money for them. What I absolutely love about the 702 family and 702 land is the huge warmth of people, the generosity that they show. But I also absolutely love the hustle. Anyone in business is actually trying to improve the economy. They're trying to have an impact on all of us. And there's a go-getting attitude to 702 land that you don't see in so many other places. That's what I really love about 702 land. That getting together and doing something new, and in the process, making money.
The Money Show with Stephen Grootes. Weekdays from 6 to 8 p.m.
Apparently, something big is coming our way, Mzansi. It seems like a takeover is about to happen, and with it comes big change and even bigger ideas, more opportunities and more ways to win at life. So if you're tired of life never giving you a real chance, be on the lookout on the 1st of June 2026, because that chance you've been waiting for is finally coming home with Sizekaya. A new chapter begins. Stay tuned for updates on the 21st of May.
If you're a fan of the beautiful game, you'll recognize this. And this. But what about this?
It's your chance to score big time. Win your share of up to 2 million rand with Standard Bank. It's game day every day. To enter, open and use any qualifying Standard Bank account, in-app or in branch. Already a Standard Bank customer? Sign up for Standard Bank Connect online to get a bonus entry. Standard Bank is an authorized FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
To walk the talk is to turn words into meaningful actions. And it's what we at 702 are committed to doing every day. We are also committed to following the rules set out by the Broadcasting Complaints Commission's Code of Conduct. To give you balanced programming, fair comments, and accurate news. But if we stumble along the way and you feel we are not living up to the code, let us know on comment@702.co.za. And if after that you're still not happy, you can direct your complaint in writing to the Broadcasting Complaints Commission. Email bccsa@nabsa.co.za. For more, visit bccsa.co.za.
702.
Health and Wellness.
It's Health and Wellness right here on the Clement Manyathela Show. My name is Khomozo Modise. I'm in for Clement. My guest this morning is Diane Buron, Vaccines Medical Head at Sanofi, South Africa. And we're speaking about respiratory syncytial virus, a virus that is very prevalent among young children and babies. And if you have an experience with RSV, if your child was diagnosed, or if you were diagnosed, please get in touch with us. The number to dial is 011 883 0702 072 702 1702. I see on the WhatsApp someone saying, my 15-month grandson is in hospital with RSV. Can he get it again? Could he have caught it from an adult with bronchitis or hanging with older kids? And that's from Nick. Diane, that question I think is an important one. Can he get it again? He's in hospital currently with RSV.
It's a very good question. First of all, very sorry to hear about that case, and I hope it resolves for the best. So it is usually infections do not reappear, and we have very limited information about any reinfection with RSV.
And could he have gotten it from an adult with bronchitis or older kids?
Yes, all of those two possibilities are definitely there. So anyone, and adults are also infected with RSV. Usually they present with milder symptoms than for the younger infants. But we do see a high burden of disease as well in the older adults. So anyone could have been infected with RSV and could have been the source of infection for this child.
And we know that RSV can cause deaths in children. Can it do the same in adults?
In older adults, especially in adults with underlying conditions such as BPCO, so that's a chronic pulmonary disease, or cardiac disease or diabetes, those are underlying conditions that could trigger severe disease and even leading to death.
And in terms of treatment in South Africa, can one go anywhere to get treatment for RSV? Is it at all healthcare facilities?
Yes, it is quite as we said earlier, it is a common disease. It's a viral disease, so it's one that healthcare facilities are used to manage in a way, unfortunately. So any first sign of disease, or especially severe disease in infants, in children, should trigger access or to seek healthcare in any healthcare facility.
Okay. And what should one not do if they suspect that a child or their baby has RSV?
Well, I would say not doing anything should be something not to do, if we can say it like that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, definitely, if you see that there is any signs, even early signs of disease, seek out advice from healthcare professionals to see if there is anything, any actual healthcare that needs to be provided to the infant or to the child, to make sure that, as we know that it is a disease that can very rapidly evolve into something much more severe, leading to hospitalization. So please, if there is any early sign, even early sign, but especially if it's a warning sign of more severe illness, then seek out advice and healthcare.
All right, let's leave it there. That's Diane Buron, vaccines medical head at Sanofi, South Africa, talking to us about RSV, respiratory syncytial virus. I think the worst thing about it is that it presents or it shows symptoms that are flu or cold-like. So it's difficult to tell. A runny nose, a cough, a mild fever, and you would just think that this will go down. But I think the important thing that she says is that if the symptoms persist and if the symptoms worsen, then you must definitely get medical help. This winter, look out for the Winter Wellness in Mom's Bag campaign in your local pharmacy. Cipla has thoughtfully put all those essentials together. The ones mom reach for when sniffles start, coughs appear, or winter bugs strike. It's simple, familiar care in all one place, helping families stay covered and cared for throughout the colder months.
Coming up
on the Midday Report
with Mandy Wiener.
The Midday Report with Mandy Wiener is coming up at 12 o'clock. Mandy, good morning.
Good morning, Khwaso.
Yeah, I was about to say, is it still morning? Yes, it's still morning.
It is until midday.
What's on your show?
I get it wrong all the time. Don't worry.
What's coming up on the show?
So there's been this big, what they're calling a high-impact service delivery raid led by the mayor of Joburg in the city centre today. And it's really caused a bit of chaos. And it certainly looks as though they're targeting foreign nationals, so illegal foreigners. A number of them at a butchery have gone scurrying into the roof. And I'm going to ask the question today about whether or not we're starting to see some of the early signs of the xenophobic violence that we saw in 2008. The HSRC warning that we're seeing a rise in anti-foreigner sentiment in the country. I know people have got very strong views on that. We'll have a look at that. There is supposed to be judgment today in the Usindiso building a fire case. World Cup winning coach Rassie Erasmus has been awarded, although he wasn't there in person, the Order of Ikimanga in Gold, national orders being bestowed today. Oskido getting an order as well. Quite a few interesting people. Voter Killerman. We'll look at the fallout from the Joe Ferrari case. I heard Kaiser Kganyago. I mean, bizarre. What a wild story.
He says ordinary. It says the person this is an ordinary case.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
And then we'll get reaction to yesterday's Healthcare Act judgment in the Constitutional Court.
All right, that's the Midday Report with Mandy Wiener from 12 to 1. Lots to cover on that show. Yeah, there's been a lot that we've gone through also throughout the last 3 hours. We have gone through, as she says, Kaiser Kganyago, who was weighing in on what happened there in Kwaggafontein. It's definitely the type of story that you should keep a close eye on. There's now calls for the magistrate to be removed. I know the NPA says that they're going to be taking a listen back to the record or reading the record to see what has happened, and if they see a need to raise a complaint against the magistrate, it would be before the magistrate's commission. They will do that. But this story, there's just so many moving parts. Also, there's that meeting that they're currently having that the director of public prosecutions at Mpumalanga will be having with the prosecutor who didn't make it yesterday to court. So there are many moving parts to that story. It is the type of story that will continue to, move, and there'll be a lot of reaction there throughout the day. There's also, of course, the raid that's happening on the Joburg CBD. But I leave you in the capable hands of Mandy Wiener, who will be taking you through many of those stories. For me, though, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for your contributions, your WhatsApps, your voice notes, your messages. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We'll do it again tomorrow. Goodbye.
This is EWN.
Good afternoon, I'm Bali Dlamini. The NPA has confirmed that the prosecutor accused of contempt for not showing up in court will meet with the Director of Public Prosecutions in Mpumalanga. Mkhuseli Ndaba failed to pitch yesterday during bail proceedings in an extortion and money laundering case involving taxi bosses Joe Sibanyoni, Mafana